Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another season of EGFC Overwatch. There's plenty of 6v6 action on the way. The entirety of today is going to be jam-packed, full of team versus team action, and bringing all of it at you. My name is Dor, and I'm joined by the always wonderful Jag. Jag, how you feeling about today's matchups?
They are gonna be great. I think we've got 5 very action-packed matches coming your way today, and I must say, Dor, that jacket looks very lovely on you. I'm very excited to be here with you, and, starting it off, we're gonna have a real banger. It's gonna be William and Mary going up against Wichita State Esports.
Yeah, Wichita State has a fairly involved esports program, one that's well notable. Not only is it a solid esports program in and of itself, right? It's also spawned the Wichita Wolves, which I believe came out of them, have a really solid both Rocket League and Rainbow Six. They're dipping into Valorant a little bit now. So all in all, just an incredible esports organization that's been doing amazing stuff. William and Mary, on the other hand, have kind of come in. They've been doing a lot of good work. We saw them play in Rocket League yesterday, and they had some pretty solid results. So I'm hoping for the same from their Overwatch team.
Yeah, I mean, Wichita State, as you said, a great program. It's varsity. They're supported by athletics. So, they have that support from the school. But as you said, William and Mary building something of their own, building it up from the ground. And you love to see new schools get involved with the collegiate esports scene. So I'm sure we'll see a lot more of them. But we're going to be seeing them off first today. So what do you think we're going to be seeing from these teams? We already know the map set, it is already predetermined. We're going to be going to Oasis for our first map on Control.
Yeah, we'll run through the whole map set real quick. Oasis, Numbani, Hanamura, Watchpoint, Gibraltar, and Busan. So a pretty nice little mix, I want to note. Oasis should start off with a nice bit of flexibility from these teams. What we've been seeing a good bit in the OWL Grand Finals and the OWL Playoffs has been a lot of the Sigma Hammond on very open maps. However, it's shifted around everywhere from Roadhog to Dive to Brawl. It's a fantastic time be playing Overwatch right now. So I just got to ask you, like, with the chance of seeing so many compositions, what do you personally want to see, Jag?
Well, it's interesting because, the Overwatch League Grand Finals, which happened earlier today, they are being played on an earlier patch back before we saw the Ash nerf, before the Roadhog nerf. So, the heroes have been changed a little bit. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of the Reaper Sombra. I think, on some more open maps like Numbani, we might see more of the Wrecking Ball. I know that you love the Hog Sigma, which we usually see on Junkertown, but Junkertown not in this map pool, unfortunately. And, this is kind of what I was expecting. The Reaper Sombra, Lucio, Moira, and here, this is just a brawl point. Later on, we might see more dive tanks, but I'm super pumped for this game. Let's get into it.
Yes, sir. Wichita in the red. William and Mary will be holding on to the blue for the entirety of the day. Let's get into control point. You said Reaper Sombra is what you wanted to see. It's exactly what we're going to get here. Some heavy brawl. People have been calling it a rush composition lately. Operates on a similar precipice to Ghost. Just lots of damage in a tiny little ball. But right now, it's all Wichita State. They've got so much room pushing into this backside. And now Max FTW not going to be building up EMP anytime soon for that. It's going to be a big knock to William and Mary and their ability to actually pull themselves back into this one.
Yeah, this Zarya right now on the side of Wichita State at 100%, and they just had the better rotation. They took point, and now they're looking to clean this fight up.
Yeah, you just got to push the advantage when you have it. Notably, Seed getting the first coalescence up is going to be huge for him, but William and Mary, they've got one for the next fight.
Yeah, so, that coal built so quickly, so even though Seed using it pretty early on, they're going to get that back real soon, and we're going to be looking at the EMP charge a lot of the time right now. Flexecution close, but not quite there yet. The grab is going to be ready for Wichita State, but as we saw, that coal is ready right now for me and Mary, as well as the Shatter being built very quickly, even though they lost the first fight.
Yeah, the big things we're looking for from William and Mary right now, the two things that can get them back in this fight. First of all, the coal, second of all, the Shatter, but the second is not going to be available anytime soon with Unique falling. It's going to be a rough one for William and Mary. They've got nothing to actually make them space, nothing to defend them from all this damage from Wichita State. Thus, they're going to be sent right back to spawn.
Yeah, and that was a really good grab because I think they lost their Reaper during that fight, so kind of just displaces William and Mary, make sure they can't touch the point, and they were able to follow up. And a really good hack and execution onto the enemy Rhine. Made sure that Rhine wasn't in the fight. And now, with 60% on the point, Wichita State are looking very good right now.
Yeah, it's all about sealing out, but this EMP could do it all. He's got the EMP. It's big enough to hit the Reinhardt, but he goes down with it. They need to follow up here. Great sound barrier from the Lucio of William and Mary to keep them alive, but now you have to save yourself from a grab as well. Wichita finally taken down and off the point.
Yeah, and did you see what happened there? The Ryan was just swinging on the side of William and Mary, caught the Sombra out, and it seemed like Flexecution, probably scared they were going to be taken down, used it maybe a little bit sooner than they wanted to on the side of Wichita State, and that's going to be a flip coming out from William and Mary. But 87% on the point, they have ults, they have the Cole again, they have Dynamite's Reaper ult, so that Death Blossom could be all she wrote, but they still have their own on the side of William and Mary. Let's see who uses the ults first.
Yeah, it's all about aggression right now. Who's going to make the first move? It's going to be Wichita State pushing with the Cola, taking down Nuke Llama. And with that goes any chance of building up some sort of sound barrier charge. Wichita State now taking a little bit of room with the pressure that they've gained. Still a couple of ultimates in the bag. Meanwhile, William and Mary, they're running out of gas. All they have is this EMP. They have to follow it up, but they can't. All the players of Wichita State hacked, but their health bars remain full and healthy because of their Lucio's sound barrier. Well done fight by Wichita State, and now it's final fight territory for W&M.
Yeah, Fox Icon getting that beat off when they need it, and now they're swapping late on to the Winston. Will it be enough? And that's going to be a really early pick right there in the Lucio.
Touch here. Can they? It will be a Sombra to get the touch in. Good shatter. Just keep the people off and away. Remember, W&M have bled off 2 players at this point, right? A support and a Sombra. So you're walking basically tax-free into a Death Blossom. So much damage from Wichita State. They sealed this one out the second they took out that last fight.
Yeah, once your Lucio falls, I mean, it's really hard to win a 5v6, and they try to stagger themselves onto the point, try to draw it out as long as possible, but in the end, Wichita State going to go up 1-0 on Oasis. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see what point we have next. Find out in just a second, and it looks like it's going to be Gardens, so wide open. You know, we could see a little bit of Pharah, maybe some Echo here, but right now it looks like we're going to be kind of sticking to the same old, same old.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go for the same old, same old. This point also offers up things like a Roadhog, things like a Wrecking Ball. The dive can be particularly useful here, but they seem comfortable in these competitions. Remember, it's early on in the season. They've only scrimmed so much, so I think it's kind of sticking to their guns is what this is.
We are going to see a swap onto the Diva from the side of William and Mary. And like you said, very early on, this is week 1 for season 2. So everyone getting their engines revved up for a very fun collegiate year. Right now, we're going to see William and Mary try to take the high ground, but they're going to be met immediately.
Yeah, immediate pressure from Wichita. This time, though, it's William and Mary in a significantly better position, unlike on the last map. It's about how they use that, though. It's going to be the important part. Right now, Unique far ahead in the ultimate charge, but he's taking a lot of damage for it, and now his health bar so low, getting swung on by everybody. He won't even get the chance to get that shatter up. Instead, it's Wichita State pushing forward into a team with no main tank, which means absolutely nothing to stop them from putting in the deeps.
Yeah, the damage has been done. This is going to be going to Wichita State with the Lucio falling last, and we're going to see a few players on fire. Yeah, it just looks like Unique can't stay alive, is able to get that shutter very early on, but Flexecution hacking out the tank so that Diva really can't do anything. Gavin just becoming an ult battery at the end without any flight or DM. And that's going to be a very solid fight from Wichita State. They have a few ults of their own. Both teams going to have the Cole, both teams going to have the Shatter, and now Gavin going to make a very late swap onto the Zarya.
Yeah, it's going to hurt him big time in the ultimate charge later, but it's right now, Jag, that they got to worry about. The Shatter connected, absolutely did! 2 players on the ground, 2 of the main damage sources gone for Wichita State, and this could be a much earlier swap over for William and Mary, one that they're thankful that they got.
Yeah, the swap definitely helped. We saw that they got in on the kill feed with that Zarya. And, you know, all they committed was the Cole. Both teams using it, but in the end, William and Mary are going to get the better end of their coalescence. Execution is pretty close to that EMP, has been able to hit big hacks so far. Can they do it again? Right now, William and Mary getting some percentage on the point.
Yeah, it's notable that they got their ultimates first, but think of a world where William and Mary didn't win that fight. This could have been the ultimate staggered all the way up to 85%. Instead, they're fighting back for the point, using a Graviton to try and win the fight, and they should be able to do it off the back of that. They haven't actually gained any high ground control yet, but still far ahead and in control of the fight are Wichita State University. Just going to stagger these kills out, make sure they finish all of them off very cleanly, start taking the point back up in their favor. And they've got a lot of ultimates to roll it all that way.
A lot of ultimates, but, you know, a lot of time right now being killed off the clock. William and Mary able to stagger it out pretty well, you know. Nuke Llama just kind of sitting back, waiting for their time to touch on the Lucio. Look at how many ults have been built up by Wichita State now. They have everything besides the grab. So both teams actually have a pretty good solid ult bank. You know, we're still seeing 4 on the side of William and Mary. The question is, which team is going to have better ult bank rotation? Because whatever team over ults, they're going to be at a huge disadvantage going into final fight territory.
I'm actually looking at how these EMPs connect, right? Last time. Oh no! Flexecution got killed out of his EMP! Oh, that's brutal. It's such a big one for William and Mary to push in off the back of, but a great sound barrier from Nuke Llama. He's going to be keeping them up for the most part. Both teams lose their main heals, which means a lot of this damage is going to be permanent. It's William and Mary backed into the corner, though, forced to take all of that. Thus, they should be taking this fight as a loss.
Yeah, I think that Reaper ult that came out right at the end for William and Mary, just a bit late. They really needed that a bit earlier in the fight. And although a lot of ults were committed from both sides, in the end, Wichita State just able to come out on top because they were able to play better around their team, even though they lost the EMP. Now, this is final fight. They are 10 seconds away from winning this map and taking a 1-0 lead in this series.
Now, one last fight for William and Mary. They've got ults. They've got a Graviton Surge, but it's Wichita State pushing aggressively into it. Huge Fire Strike connects onto everybody. Good shatter play. Oh my god! It hit everybody! Fluffy but deadly is gonna connect onto the entirety of William and Mary. And what a suitable way to end map 1, Jag.
Yeah, I mean, both grabs, both shatters being committed, and in the end, Wichita State just able to find the kills, able to follow up. Nuke Llama going to try to give their life as long as humanly possible, but it's not going to be enough. Unique going to touch just for a second, and that is the first map of the series going to Wichita State. And that, you know, that really could have gone to William and Mary. I just think they misplayed it a little bit. They had the advantage after the EMP didn't go off, and in the end, just not able to follow up and get those kills.
I mean, there's one person I'm looking at right now, and it's the Lucio for Wichita. Foxycon was fantastic. Did not miss a beat. And I mean that quite literally. The sound barriers were perfect for Wichita. And that was the big difference. We talked about the ultimates a lot. When you're playing a composition that has a Sombra and a Reinhardt and a Zarya in it, you have so many ways to just guarantee yourself fight win. So having those ultimates up is super key, but countering them can be even more so. We saw the sound barrier counter 1 to 2 of those ults. God knows how many times. It was used against every single EMP. They had the shields ready for grab. They had the counter ultimates ready. And I think that's what really did it for them. Other than that, I felt like the neutral fight was actually relatively close in favor of William and Mary. They had this more solid EMP, right? We saw Flexecution go down in the middle of casting there. There's so many great things we can say about William and Mary, but just that one difference is enough to make the map just look so dominant for Wichita.
Yeah, I mean, playing Lucio in this meta is very interesting because you have to basically be out of a fight for a long time hiding to make sure you do not get hit or found out or hacked by the enemy Sombra. So, you know, hiding, making sure that you're in position to hit that beat once the EMP falls. It's not like Zen, you know, the Transcendence, you can hit it as soon as the EMP goes off. You will not be affected by it. And, you know, I think the biggest difference there, we talked about, you know, kind of like the fights that were happening between the team 6v6 when there were no ultimates on the board. Unique, you know, just kind of being focused down a little bit, it looks like, not able to stay alive. So I think the target focus is very good right now on the side of Wichita State. But when they're able to stay alive for that 6v6 and extend fights, William and Mary look very good. But that's enough about Oasis for now. We're going to be moving on to Numbani.
Yeah, and this map should offer up something completely different, right? The Numbani, Watchpoint, Gibraltar, 2 of the best dive maps in the game. We're going on to 1 here. I'm doubting we're going to see any more of the Reinhardt Zarya brawl. Either we go over to something like a Winston Diva, or you put something more interesting into the mix.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, Hammond is a viable option here if you're trying to just boot people out the side or displace them. I think that, you know, as you said, the Winston and Diva is kind of the standard of what we're expecting, but who knows? You can still try to force a brawl comp. You really have to be aggressive in your fights, just kind of take the high ground, maybe rotate around on the attack. Right now, we're seeing that Wichita State does have the Rhine, but, you know, we could see that switch very shortly as there's still plenty of time to choose. And we're going to be sticking with the same DPS lineup. So, you know, we're going to be looking for those EMPs versus the Lucio, but very interesting. We're going to see William and Mary come out of the Ana.
Yeah, I'm actually curious that we're not seeing any Ashe here. And the Ashe nerf did go through, but still one of the better maps for her to be played. So much high ground control. And now with the attackers locking in a Rhine D.Va, it's going to be really difficult for them to get a lot of control over the point. But pushing underneath here is definitely the right call. It's going to give them a lot of control. It's going to force William and Mary to come down to them. The question is that what you actually want? This pile driver is going to hurt like nothing else. Oh, no. Oh, Jag, this is genius. I think they may just wrap all the way around or just start playing for the contest here.
We're going to see that the Reaper's going to teleport onto that high ground, trying to get the Ana, but we see the anti-nade come out onto the D.Va, so the D.Va has to back out, has to regroup. They have not gotten a tick yet, and it's still 66, but the D-Mac might be what Wichita State needs.
William and Mary are playing this very, very well right now, just dipping their toe in to make sure they're contesting it at any given point in time, slowly chipping away at the resources of Wichita State. They're trying to fight their way out of this corner, but there's just so much pressure in from the outside. You can see just from the ultimate charges, William and Mary have gotten so much out of this defense. They do need to hold on, though, because Wichita State, they're coming out, and they're mad for what just happened for them. Unique and Ratchenite go down early, and that should be the first point taken over based solely off the patience of Wichita.
Yeah, and there was some great Ana play in there too, some great sleep, some great antis, and in the end, even though the tanks were antied up and they got an early DMAC, just not able to follow up at the end. So that's going to be point one, going to Wichita State. Very interesting that even though they weren't really able to contest the high ground, they're still able to chase them off the point. William and Mary had to be running for their lives near the end, and neither team has anything online just yet. We saw that early call from Seed, going to be at 36% now, but the DPS ult's very close by for Wichita State.
It's a dicey one for William and Mary. This whole fight is just on a knife's edge of EMP and Sound Barrier. Both of these ultimates pretty much dead even for both sides. And this is the point where almost all of Numbani is decided. Whenever B comes in and things start getting messy and Kill start getting just taken out everywhere, now the flanker's getting flanked by another Sombra. It's when the big fight breaks out that actually matters. Now with mines in, William and Mary are going to commit to the fight, but they've only gotten a Reaper out of it. Wichita State could look for a frag off the back end, but no. Losing their D.Va should be enough. Just send them right back to spawn and let them come back for one more go.
Yeah, that was a very quick decon test from Wichita State. You know, they lost one very early on, and instead of even trying to fight that 5v6, they just backed out. Do lose their D.Va at the tail end of it, but no stagger there, so they have a lot to work with. They had the EMP, they have the Death Blossom pretty close to the Cole, as well as the D.Va Bomb. Flexecution got hacked out there at the beginning of the fight, but you saw the rotate coming in from the Rhine, so they were protected, but here are the ults coming out now.
And it's an aggressive set of them from William and Mary, but the EMP bomb doesn't hit onto really anything. Now it's Wichita State's turn to clap back. The EMP is big, but the Coalescence is there to try and peel. Seed is going in big time. They need to win this fight here and now, though, and they're going to use the Death Blossom to get the most of it. Ratchenite down, no real source of damage left for William and Mary. It's going to be point B taken over by the red side.
Yeah, the EMP bomb, they tried it, but the positioning of Wichita State, they basically just could run back and hide behind natural cover, so no shield, no problem for them there. They did commit DPS ults, but they're going to have tank ults, and they still have Foxacon's V. They can use it aggressively. They know that the EMP won't be online for a little bit longer. Now all that's left for William and Mary on this third point is the Death Blossom of their own. They are going to be swapping onto the Rhine, so looking for that mirror.
That's what I really want to see, though. You mentioned it. An aggressive Sound Barrier. Foxconn knows they can use it, and they should push with this. Oh, the Shatter's big. It's onto Unique, and it may not have caught everybody on the team, but it's big because it caught the one person on the team that matters. There's no one to hold this space while the car pushes forward.
Yeah, and now they're getting so close to the end. Is anyone even able to touch? They are going to have the Lucio on. Now it's just going to be one by one. William and Mary trying to stagger this as long as possible. They still have the BTUs. They need to get the Reaper on, and here's the Death Blossom.
Oh, the Sound Barrier's perfectly timed to counter it, though. We want an aggressive one, but the defensive one turned out just as good for him. William and Mary pushed all the way through C with 4 minutes on the clock remaining for Wichita State. That's a hell of a time bank, Jag.
That is 10 seconds less than they started with. That is a very impressive time bank they're going to be having. And, you know, it looked like first point was a little kind of out in the open. You know, it could have seemed like it could have gone either way. But then after that, that was pretty much all Wichita State from there. You know, second point, there were some good set plays by William and Mary, but they just weren't able to follow up. And at the end of the day, the Rhine, they've been playing it all day. And so far, you know, it's working. Why even stop? You know, don't fix it if it ain't broke yet. But let's see now if it works just as well on the defense.
What are they looking in? It's back to the Rhine Diva. So the Diva here is a swap over from the Zarya. It's just to contest the high ground, isn't it, Jug?
I would assume so. I mean, you know, Zarya technically does have a little bit of better synergy for the Rhine, but you don't really need to worry about using bubbles, you know, to clear antis, because it's not as important if you're able to eat them. We are going to see the Ana come out from William & Mary, and these antis honestly have been pretty big, but just the follow-up hasn't been there yet for William & Mary, so if they can get the follow-up, they can get it done. But very interesting, they're going to be running the Hog Sigma as well as the Pharah, so this Pharah, you know, she might not be contested as well. Sombra and Reaper, they are hit scan, but they are close-range heroes.
Yeah, the Pharah is a great pick here. It also gives William & Mary effectively a get-out-of-jail-free card with the Mercy, right? The Resurrect is going to be really, really useful for them if they lose anybody on the way in. This composition, it gets messy, right? You're running a Roadhog Sigma, you're just trying to create scrappy pushes and find picks where you can, and now pushing into a Reinhardt on the high ground, that's going to be pretty difficult, right? There's a shield in your way at any given point in time, and Unique's just waiting for the right opportunity. Lots of shots being thrown in, though. An accretion here and there, and Rach and I can't really find any way around the backside of Wichita to get the angle that they want. The hit scans are holding her off for the time being. Until now, there goes Gavant, and it's one pick. That's all the Roadhog is looking for, but he couldn't get it that fight.
Yeah, and again, fluffy but deadly. Anti, but they just can't follow up. The shield was not destroyed. You know, Roadhog does good shield damage, but they really need the Reaper to follow, but there is what they might be looking for, a hook that's going to cause a Wraith, so now they know that ability is out. Reaper does not have that second life on the side of Wichita State.
Yeah, it's a key ability out, but it should be back on the line by the time they take this fight again. I like this line from the Pharah a lot more, though. Rachel Knight now has a few more angles to really work with and harass this team from. The Shatter makes it all null and void. Oh my lord! Fluffy but deadly. Shows no mercy with these Shatters.
Yeah, and I mean, you know the Sigma shield might not always be up, and it might not always be on the ground, so sometimes even if the shield is up, you can just kind of sneak it right underneath. And already a minute and a half off the clock, and we really haven't seen much movement from William & Mary. They do have the Nano, but, you know, you'd expect the Pharah to be pretty close to Barrage by now. The Reaper also very far behind an All Charge. Now they're going to just go underneath, maybe force point instead of trying to play on the high grounds.
I like this. It's going to break down the composition for Wichita State. It's going to give this Roadhog a lot more lanes to work down. You see already one hook connects, but they use their Nano Boost early. Taking out the Reaper's a nice pick, but it's not nice enough to trade 3 people out for. Unfortunately for them, Wichita just had a massive ultimate advantage heading into that fight and used it beautifully.
Dynamite got out of there with 2 health at one point. Did end up falling by the end of that. Unique was able to find the pick. But the Nano being committed, they are going to have the whole hog. And the rest of the team just falling around them. So William & Mary commit stuff, aren't able to get it done. They do have the Barrage online, but there is a Diva on the side of Wichita State. They can just eat all that damage up, fly into them for the self-kill. But now it looks like Flexecution is in position, looking for that EMP.
Yeah, it's about the one thing that's just going to shut down William & Mary in one fell swoop, especially if you catch both the Pharah and the Mercy out with it. There's not many defensive ultimates that they could actually use, so the second that Sombra presses Q, it's going to be a rough one. Full hog in, though, from William & Mary. It's just going to pressure and push Wichita State off the point. Again, just disorganizing them more and more than they already were. Now Wichita, they have to fight back for this one, but they've got so many ultimates to do it. EMP, Death Blossom, throw in the kitchen sink while you're at it, Wichita. That's almost a guaranteed win for them, but there's one more fight left for William & Mary.
Yeah, and they used a lot there. The only thing they're going to have now is the Coalition spot. This could be a huge stagger onto Unique. It's just going to fall off the side, so they will be back in time for one final push. They know that there is a Barrage on the side of William & Mary. Flexecution was able to get the hack on, so was able to see that they have the ult online. They could try to combo it maybe with the Graviton Flux, you know, get them all up in the air and then just rain death from above, but they need to move quick. They need to move fast. This is their last shot at keeping this map alive.
Yeah, time is the one thing that's really going to hurt him here, right? You have to push on into a Coalescence. You're being forced to use those ultimates that you wanted to stagger out nicely and layer into the fight. You're forced to use them a little bit more desperately here. Rachel Knight in for a Barrage, although it's entirely DM'd away by the Diva. Great job by Kellic Gill to keep it going and keep it down. Now William & Mary completely separated away from the rest of their tanks. Unique's on the back of the point. The supports are on the front. He's lost his opposing tank. It is going to be a full hold from Wichita State University, who are looking very, very strong right now.
They look absolutely dominant. And I really liked the idea that William and Mary had. They did do kind of what I was suggesting they do. They tried to combo the Grav Flux and the Pharah Barrage, but you cannot be playing on the ground. I mean, it was the high ground per se, but it's still the ground. You know, if you're far, you want to get as high up in the air because you are super vulnerable in your barrage. You can't move. You're just a sitting duck. And, you know, she was just sitting there and they were able to get her down to 0 health. And we talked about the Mercy play, and I don't think there were really any reses they could find because Wichita State just so good at cleaning up those fights so quickly, so no chance for a second life for anyone on the side of William and Mary.
Yeah, you said it's how they cleaned up the fights, but for me in that one, it's how they pushed the advantage, which I'll include cleaning up fights in that, right? Every single time they saw even just a little chink in the armor of William and Mary, they were pushing it, they're using ultimate after ultimate after ultimate to get in there, and they recognized opportunities, which is I think something that William and Mary haven't done. They've created those opportunities, right? Whether it was pushing underneath and forcing the Reinhardt down, finding the Roadhog hooks, using the Nano aggressively, taking out the Reaper, but they haven't actually made the most of those opportunities that they've made for themselves, right? They need to learn to push together as a team to clean up the kills cleanly and quickly, which Wichita have done extremely well. And now with the next map coming up, they've only got one more to do it, right? Their backs against the wall, game point. You think they can do it, Jag?
You know, I think Wichita State is just going to get that 3-0. But, you know, I'd love to see William and Mary come back, force another map. We are going to be going to Hanamura, actually. We're going to get Hanamura for Assault. I was going to say Full Sky just because, you know, I love that map so much. But it is going to be Hanamura. So, you know, Assault, very interesting game mode in Overwatch. You know, maybe not the most popular in the community. You know, it's very easy to kind of just roll through point 2 once you get some momentum on point 1 on this attack. So if you're on the defense, you got to be careful not to get rolled through. And we are going to see, you know, William and Mary on the defense first again. So they kind of have it all in their hands right now. If they can put on a good defense, if they can, you know, maybe get even a first point holder, at least, you know, draw out second point as long as possible to give themselves a chance to get back into this series, we could see a map 4. But right now, Wichita State just has so much momentum going for them.
I don't know why 2CP gets such a bad rap. I don't get it. It's not season 5 anymore. They've fixed the game mode. They fixed the spawn timers and everything. I think it's fine. Stop giving it a bad rap, man. It's undeserved, is what I'm saying. I think Hanamura is a fantastic map, and one that I'm excited to see Wichita State attack on first, right? Setting a time bank is a big thing, but also setting up a defense is something that we haven't actually seen William and Mary do effectively, whether that's defending a control point, whether that's defending a capture point. Now's their only really chance to do it. My question is, they've shown the more compositional diversity. How can they use that here to their advantage, right? Because you think of a thing like May up against the Rhine comp that Wichita State have been running the entire time, that might be dangerous.
Absolutely. I mean, if you get a May wall in there, and especially on that first choke, that choke at first point Hanamura is just so deadly if you get cut off from your team. That's Orion's worst nightmare. It looks like they might have heard you. It looks like we are going to see the May at the beginning. They could still swap it. Doesn't look like they are, though. So, you know, that May, if they can play that advantage, they can do very well on this defense. And I think you talked about it really well, kind of looking at Numbani, you know, looking and knowing what your win condition is, knowing how to close out fights. They have had so many good advantages that they just have not played yet for William and Mary. They've had the set plays. They have the idea of what they want to do, but the execution just not quite there. So, you know, they got to learn quick. They got to adapt. Not going to be running a main tank. Very interesting. They're going to be running the Roadhog Zarya. We haven't seen this in a while, but will it be effective enough to help them defend first point Hanamura defense?
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a tricky one with Roadhog Zarya, but I think the May is a fantastic pick. Direct counter to the Reinhardt composition that Wichita are running. And oh boy, he is in for quite the surprise. Completely frozen. Oh no! He got out with his life. The bubble block from Kelligill is huge. They're through the choke. This is the hard part done for Wichita. All they have to do is move on point. Now they have a massive advantage here. The Roadhog can start moving in, start looking for a hook. But actually finding those angles is going to be damn near impossible. He's got a hook, but immediately it's going to be bubbled away. William and Mary, it was such a great idea, but again, the execution just wasn't there for him.
And that's just the sign of a very coordinated team, you know, breaking the May wall very quickly, able to get the bubble onto your Rhine before they get too weak. I mean, that's just the execution of a great team. They're able to all shoot that wall, and now we're going to see swaps come out. We're going to see Unique once again go to that Hammond. didn't pay off for them on Nabani. Let's see if it works out better here on the second point. Right now, it's do or die for William and Mary.
It's got a good angle here. Wichita State are taking a pretty curious route up to the point, but it's working for him, right? The Brawl gets on top of the tank super effectively. Gavin doesn't have anything to really peel for him without the Wrecking Ball being able to pull off some pretty nice mechanics. The only thing they really need to get in is going to be the Coalescence from Seed, which has always been well-timed today. They can try and recontest all they want, but William and Mary are just going to be running straight into this Graviton Surge. There's not much they can do. This time bank is ridiculous from Wichita State, and they're going to be finishing with likely over 5 minutes left on their clock.
Yeah, 5:26, the square being used on the side by Nuke Llama, but just not enough. The late swap to the Zen isn't going to help you get any closer to the point. A very slow hero, and just dominant. I don't think there's any other word I can really think of right now to describe how great that attack was from Wichita State. It looked like for a second, you know, that William and Mary had really put themselves in a good position. But again, they had the set play, just not able to follow up. And you got to wonder, you know, is that them not being able to find the execution, not being able to follow through and finish it off, or is it just great counterplay by Wichita State? Right now, it's going to be very hard for William and Mary to even get close this time bank. They need to have an attack just as dominant.
I mean, for me, that entire push from Wichita State literally came off of one play from Kellic Gill, right? The Reinhardt was in so much trouble. They didn't have a projected barrier up or anything. He was near frozen, and Kellic Gill runs forward with a self bubble and body blocks the freeze right before it goes through. That entirely allowed them through the choke point, allowed them to build up the ultimates, allowed them to roll on to B. I mean, incredible play from Kellic Gill, and I can give the entire push over to just that. Now on the defense, though, same composition. This time, it's a little bit of a smaller man in the mix.
Is it a hammer time? We'll find out very briefly, but I mean, get you a Zarya, get you an off-tank player who peels for you, right? Even if you're the main tank, make sure you've got someone that is going to protect you on that front line, because sometimes the healers just can't get it done, you know. Moira has to heal everyone on the team. Lucio AoE not too strong. We're going to see a very similar comp. Max still going to be staying on that Junkrat, and Nuke Llama coming out with the Zen. They're probably going to be trying to get that Discord Orb on the main tank so they can melt, you know, Fluffy down a little bit easier, but very interesting. They're not going to have the speed for this.
No, getting through this choke point is going to be hell. They have to rely on the Discord. They have to rely on their choke. And one thing I'm looking for here is Nuke Llama and Max FTW. They need to be on the same target. Getting the Junkrat damage onto a Discorded target is going to give them such an advantage. And while you can spam with this choke all you want, which they're going to do, all you've really done is keep the Zarya charged up. Kellic Gill is more than happy to take all of these Junkrat mines. Look, 100 charged to him. Just constantly. Every time one of those bubbles comes up, it is just free real estate for him. The one thing William and Mary have is going to be this amplification matrix. They look ready and poised to use it, but even when you play the amplification matrix, you're still running into Junkrat mines, right? You can't safely use it. You have to push your Reinhardt forward. Unique's going to take a ton of damage for this. They haven't actually gained that ground yet, especially when there's going to be a Molten Core in the mix, taking all of that back. It's an easily won fight for Wichita State.
And now Transcendence being committed very late. That makes me wonder, are they going to push this even though they're down? But it's not going to matter because the Shatter is going to get everyone.
Yeah, I don't think they get much of a choice or say in that one. And it's still, even though the main tank's down, a win for Wichita with almost 2 minutes off the clock.
Yeah, 3 ults being committed there. Not going to find any value for William and Mary. And now they're swapping again on to this Hammond. You know, they really like it. It just hasn't worked out the way they've wanted to, but now they might be able to push the enemy team back and create some space.
But it's Graviton versus Graviton. Now that difference comes in. Now that Baptiste looks really good because you don't have to rely on a sound barrier to save yourself. Alondri waits, holds it for the last second. Now they have the counter Graviton, but they don't use it. They're holding on for next fight, which may have been the right decision considering how quickly that Grav got rolled over.
They do take out Dynamite, so, you know, that is a bit of a stagger. It's so far to get back to this first point when you're on defense. They're going to swap to the Rhine once again, so that Hammond not going to stick around very long. You said they have the grab. They also have the tire, so Foxicon, a lot of pressure going to be on them to hit a sound barrier that isn't going to be too early or too late.
Well, that's the issue, right? Is they didn't use the grab last fight, so it meant that this fight they were pushing in with the grab. That was guaranteed to have a sound barrier used next to it. And the combo is nice, but again, sound barrier just cancels out both of those super duper well. Execution is coming up on yet another Molten Core, which in this choke point is just brutal. William and Mary need to start winning these fights early. They need to play aggressive. They've got to put the rubber to the road and actually get in there. They've got so many tools to do it. The Death Blossom can make space. The Transcendence can be used aggressively through the Molten Core. They haven't found the confidence in them to push through this choke point quite yet. With the help of an Amplification Matrix, they're feeling a little bit better, but it's the same exact response from Flexecution. Immediately dropping the Molten Core in, Rachonite pushes forward with an aggressive Death Blossom. No kill, but they finally got the space to move themselves back on the point, taking out Fluffy but Deadly. It's going to be a counter Death Blossom from Dynamite, taking down 2 and grabbing the fight right back out of the hands of William and Mary.
Yeah, the early Amplification Matrix, I just don't think it's doing enough, you know? You only get value out of it as a Ryan if you're sitting back and using, you know, your Fire Strike through it, and really you have to be pushing that choke. They don't have the speed to be able to collapse on targets. They did get Fluffy but Deadly, but by that point it was too late, and now this is last fight territory. They are close to Tangled on the side of William and Mary. They need to get them online as soon as possible.
They need to move forward. Remember, you said it takes them forever to actually close that gap. It takes them a while to get the point as well. With 15 seconds on the clock, the last thing you want to do is have your Reinhardt be forced to move on to point without the help of their shield. But already, it's really low for Unique. No shield, no health to your name, and now shattered onto the ground he goes. William and Mary set back to spawn for a full hold from Wichita State, who start off their season just right.
Yeah, they're going to start it up with that W, the 3-0 sweep. Wichita State looking really good. You know, I was wondering if they'd show up to play because last night they lost a very close match to Miami, Ohio in the UCEA Overwatch Invitational. So to be able to come back, rebound, get back into it, say, hey, you know, that's last night. It's a different tournament. We're here to win. They showed up. They showed up big and very dominant. I got to say, you know, they look like early favorites to me.
Early favorites is aggressive. There's a lot of teams here, Jack, but I like the cut of your jig so far, right? We'll see quite what else they can do. My condolences to William and Mary, right? There were a lot of moments that looked good, a lot of fundamentals, right? They were choosing the right times to move forward. They were choosing the right times to do things, but they were never actually using them aggressively. And I feel like confidence is going to be a big thing for this team throughout the season, right? Finding it. When can we push in aggressively? When do we need to hold? Because by the time that William and Mary actually choose to go in, the other team's built up a massive bank of ultimates that they can just roll throughout the game. So I think that's the one change they really need to make before they can start really looking at taking out these teams.
You're right. I mean, it is early to say they're early favorites, but I stand by my statement. I think they just looked good. And William and Mary, honestly, looked pretty good themselves, but sometimes it's not about mechanical skill. It's about your teamwork. And Wichita State, you know, I just thought they looked so good with their team play. And that's what really sets you apart at the collegiate level. I mean, I think you're right. Confidence is something that William and Mary may be a little bit lacking right now. You saw that it was a little bit closer on Oasis in the last 2 maps, but once you get full held on Numbani, it's really hard to recover from that mentally. And I think that we saw that on Hanamura. You know, they just they tried their best, but maybe they're just not there after a very, you know, ungraceful defeat on Numbani. What didn't look that much better on Hanamura, but it's very early on in the season. They have plenty of time to get back into this and stake a name for themselves. William and Mary, definitely still a team to look out for as we go into the coming weeks.
Absolutely. A lot of growth potential there, but we got 2 more teams up on the docket. Providence up against University of Delaware. It's going to be coming at you guys in just a moment, so keep your eyes glued to your screens and your butts way back in those seats. We'll be right back with more Overwatch action. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're just popping in real quick to say we're a touch behind schedule. There's a delay for the Providence students. I think of some sort of just class mix-up or something. It'll just be another 15 minutes. Same time, though. Just push it back a couple. Same exact matchup. Providence versus University of Delaware. We'll come back right at you guys with that in just a moment. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, this time with a little update from our boy, Jag, on the schedule. Jag?
Yep. Thank you, Dor. And, you know, I've been talking to my inside sources. I've been on the field. I've been talking to the players. And it looks like we're still going to be having a little bit of a delay, still waiting on one Providence player to show up. So please have a bit of patience, folks. Thank you for watching. We'll have that game to you very shortly, just a few minutes more.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Providence versus UD finally on the chopping block. Ready to start off with today's second matchup in just a minute. I know you've got a little bit to talk about with these teams, Jag, so I'll give you the time. I know Providence has been in your area, I suppose. Not necessarily the same exact sports venue, but still there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Providence College is a school that I know very well from Hockey East. Very dominant there. They held the national championships one of the earlier rounds, and it was really fun going there and seeing them play. But this isn't hockey. This is Overwatch. So I'm really excited to see what both these teams can do. I don't really know either these teams very well. Providence, I do know, is playing in some other leagues and, seem to be doing all right there. Delaware, a little bit of a question mark for me, but we're going to find out if they're an exclamation mark or a period mark very soon, because we're getting straight into this game, starting off with Oasis.
Yeah, and University of Delaware, the one thing I can tell you, really strong esports program in general, right? Their Rocket League team is fantastic. Haven't got to see much of their Overwatch, but if it's anywhere in the same ballpark, I'm a little bit worried for Providence. Like you said, we're kicking things off on Oasis. Feels appropriate. The same exact map order for every one of these today. So in Oasis, Numbani, Hanamura, Gibraltar, and then Busan. Let's take a look at what the teams are running, though.
This is traditionally more of a dive map, because there's a lot of high ground here. You got the little circle thing in the middle that you can jump onto the cylinder, and then you've got the high ground you can boost up to. It looks like we might be seeing a brawl come out from the side of Providence, though, as well as a Torbjorn. So very interesting. Maybe trying to play a little bit of an anti-dive with that. Hanzo as well. So some grab dragons for Providence. Meanwhile, on the side of Delaware, looks like we're seeing a pretty standard comp with an Ana, though. No Moira.
Yeah, this is not the same as a lot of the rush compositions that we've seen in recent time. And what Providence is playing is something that we haven't seen, well, really ever. This Torbjorn pick makes it interesting, but they still do, like you said, have all those really big ultimate combos they can use to win, as well as some really nice antis from Rancer. That's going to be a big one to follow up on for UD, and they're going to do so perfectly.
Yeah, they did get a big anti, but Swampy has found too. Is this turnable right now for Providence? Looks like they're going to give up the point, but that's a high charge Zarya, but they're going to fall. And that is not good right now for Providence. Now they're kind of stuck in no man's land. They're still in this fight, but they're waiting for their regroups.
Yeah, it's going to take them a while to get those regroups through. But same goes for UD. You now just have control of high ground. It's going to be so hard to get the point away from this dive.
Yeah, and we're going to see Nate now swap onto the Tracer, so no Reaper. Not as much upfront damage, but you can do a lot of damage on the side. We do see that they actually have a McCree, so kind of playing that perfect counter matchup, but is it enough as the dive comes in?
The dive putting on a lot more pressure here than I think Providence were expecting. I think they were expecting them to play passive and try and give them space and then dive into it, but no, UD are moving forward, and they look like a man on a mission.
Yeah, they're going to lose the mech. They're going to lose Nate on the Tracer, but that's going to be a pretty good fight. Also, a pretty late stagger onto Swampy. So right now, we're going to see that Providence College, again, kind of just has to wait it out. This last fight, they were in a little bit too deep. Now they have to play a little bit more passive as they wait for that last respawn. Rancer has that Nano online, and I'm sure it's going to be going to that Winston very, very soon.
I mean, there's 4 out of 5 ultimates online for the red side. UD right now are in a fantastic position. Providence don't have any support ultimates to try and peel us away. Not even a sound barrier. So even just a little bit thrown in there with a primal rage and a nano boost is enough to hold it all the way up to about 80%.
Yeah, it's very surprising. Usually you don't.
No. Look at Nate. Look at Nate with the pulse bomb.
Oh, he's looking for it.
Oh, he's so fortunate, but he still gets one off the back of an EMP from Milk. There's follow-up there for University of Delaware. They're staggering out their ultimates fabulously, Jag.
Yeah, now the Ana's in a fall. They do get the D.Va completely, so the D.Va is going to be late right now for the University of Delaware, but I'm not even sure it's going to matter.
Nate still has his pulse bomb. You can smell it on him. Oh, no! He's got to be careful where he's walking. Zekrom nearly got caught with his pants down, but at 100%, the spawn holds enough. UD, a dominant first map win for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nate died the most there, and it didn't even matter because that was, like you said, very dominant, very proficient for them. It just seems like they had their foot on the gas the entire time. They did not take it off for a second. 100-0 right there for the University of Delaware. Now we're going to be moving to a point that's a little bit more brawl heavy. So are they going to keep this Winston? If they do, it's going to be very interesting. And now Swampy on the Roadhog. That is a pick I want to see if it can work out.
Yeah, it's going to give them a lot of scrappy opportunities. This is also one of Junkrat's best maps in the game. They're going to have a lot of pressure here, even swapping back over to a Winston Zarya, which is an interesting composition. It was played for a while, especially in Chinese contenders. However, up against a lot of the modern compositions, it just doesn't have as nice of a seat in the meta as it used to. So playing this, they're going to have to do it extremely well. Other than that, they can rely on the damage from Zekrom to gain them a lot of space. Space that I didn't have on the previous map, but still so difficult with UD already owning a majority of it, beating them to the point, getting that Reinhardt into the choke, and just locking out Providence time and time again. And now there's no Junkrat in the way. This Reinhardt can just storm forward.
Yeah, once you lose your Junkrat, it's pretty much game over for this push. I mean, the Junkrat is your main damage dealer. You do have the Torb, and sometimes you can get lucky with those headshots, but the turret just not putting in enough damage there. The headshot's not going to be found. And again, Nate looking for this really aggressive flank. I think the Wraith will be back online by the time we finally see Providence College push out, but this could be really dangerous if they lose their primary damage dealer in the Reaper.
Yeah, Pod is up to the first ultimate here in just a moment, working toward the shadows. Oh no, Nathan! Oh, Nate got out! Nate flash, sleep, throw everything at him, but all it did was distract your teammates from the fight that was right in front of him. UD well, they're back at the spawn hole.
Another very interesting nano from Rancer. Didn't look like it was needed, but, you know, if you're getting nanos that quickly, who cares? Just throw them up. And you're right, I mean, they got the sleep, but then the McCree woke them up. And again, Nate holding this aggressive angle, but they've got to be looking for it twice. And no! Ringkin gonna fall, the McCree gonna fall. Oh, this is awful, but Ryan's off the map.
He took that story with him. That's called sending a message.
Yeah, I mean, the message being sent right now is Delaware is just going to be running right now into Providence College's face, and it seems like Providence College doesn't know what to do, but now they have a pretty good regroup.
Oh no, the grab is there though. There's no sound barrier from Sendarian. There's so much follow-up damage. Great job by Tub Chub to get himself in there. And I feel like Providence, they've just got to just check your six. Every once in a while, walk out of spawn with one person just looking backwards, and I feel like their win percentage goes up significantly right now.
Yeah, this is not Valorant, this is not CSGO, but you still gotta check your corners because there is a Nate on the prowl. And again, in that same spot right behind them, now Melk with the EMP.
Oh, that's 5 people again! Down he goes to Tori. Oh, the poor guy. He can't catch a break right now. It's like he walks forward and his team dies behind him, or he walks forward and he gets charged off the map. There is no in between for him right now. UD are having the time of their lives. Gonna seal up a very, very quick Oasis. This looks bad for Providence, but like you said, I think they're just like 1 degree of checking their corners away from punishing UD for this over-arrogance.
Yeah, I mean, Delaware looks amazing. 200 zeros, but, you know, your ego can get the best of you sometimes. You play a little bit sloppy. I mean, those charges off the map, honestly, were so dangerous, you know. If Providence College is able to get a pick from that afterwards, you know, because they don't have that shield up anymore, they can just go through, take that advantage, but they're just not able to follow up right now. UD playing so aggressive and it's working, but, you know, you got to be careful. Confidence versus cockiness, you know, it can easily become the other, and cockiness, generally not how you want to play the game, but a great start for UD regardless, 1-0.
Yeah, hubris is definitely something to be careful of, but when your Reinhardt looks like he's playing one of my quick play games, I don't know how much more hubris you can get. At this point, I think UD is going just balls to the walls. Whatever they think they can do, they're going to do. It's up to Providence to be ready for that. And this is something that a lot of teams really struggle with, right? Is when a team starts holding you in spawn, the one thing you need to do is clean up your play. You don't need to change anything about it necessarily. Just clean up, right? Check your corners, track your ults, respond appropriately, plan for all your fights. But they weren't. They were walking on spawn, kind of planning for their fights. They were assuming everywhere was safe. They weren't checking their corners. And that's what teams like University of Delaware are just going to abuse time and time again. So my note to them isn't necessarily a playstyle change. It's not more aggressive. It's not more defensive. It's just play clean Overwatch. You got to make sure you're following all the steps before you get there, because that's where teams like UD are going to catch you off.
Yeah, I mean, Nate was in that same spot, what, 4 or 5 times, and they only really found him out that first time, and they still were not able to finish the kill. A little bit of a misplay. The McCree getting maybe a little bit too excited for that headshot just wasn't there. So, you know, Nate able to get out. And I totally agree with you. You know, stick to the basics of Overwatch. Make sure that you're, you know, calling the shots, you know, making sure that you're all tracking, checking your corners. You know, you can't let them get away with it. You can't let them do it to you over and over. But now we're going to Numbani. It's a new map. Providence College need to get back into it here. I mean, they still can wait until Assault when we get there, but you really don't want to go down into an 0-2 hole this early on in the series, this early on in the season.
Yep. UD starting out on attack, though. I think it's pretty good for Providence, right? You get the opportunity to stop them from rolling through the map. And the one hope for us right now is that it's not a repeat of what happened in the last series with Wichita State just rolling through with 4 minutes remaining on the clock over William and Mary. We need to see Providence put up a fight, and I think a lot of that, as much as it's important that they clean up their play, is going to come down to tracking ultimates. They need to not let the ultimate game get out of hand. That was the big mistake that William and Mary made, and if they make it here, UD are definitively a strong enough team to roll that through the entire map.
We're going to see the legs being locked here on the side of Providence College, so very interesting. You know, we haven't seen them really run the Sombra, so maybe they're not really comfortable with that play style. Ring King is going to be on the Reaper, though, so they will have some more upfront damage. And the Ana Moira support line, you know, that's a lot of healing, but no defensive ult, really. You can use Cole a bit defensively, but, you know, it's no B, it's no Trance, it's no Immortality field, so we'll see how that works out for them. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Widow. Will Nate click some heads today? That could be really exciting to watch.
I would be impressed to see Nate go on the flank with this Widowmaker pick the same way he has with the Reaper and Tracer. Let's just say that. And, oh, Lord. Oh, no. Burnout. You know, you're scared of the Widowmaker, but I get the feeling it's a support line they may want to be a little bit more worried about in the future. Now it's a lot of point presence for Delaware. They'll start ticking it up already. Providence are in not very good of a position right now, right? They're having to push back on. They barely got supports, but they do have a lot of damage between Zekrom and Ring King. There is so much to go around, but oh lord, it's a shooting gallery for Nate. One more to seal up the point would be huge here for them, but dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge the 5Ds of Overwatch is the only things going between Zerom's head, and now it's all about the recontest for UD.
Yeah, and now they're going to switch to the balls, so all that ult charge they had before going to be lost. We're going to see it just kind of go in and then go out. The sleep not going to hit, the nade might hit, though, and now there's a Winston in your backline, and this is just going so back and forth, but again, Pod able to get the difference there, so this might still be going University of Delaware's way.
Yeah, the spawns are definitively worse for the defenders right now. Providence are having a hard time keeping up with just the rapid number of players that UD are throwing on the board, especially when you're running a Winston and a Wrecking Ball. Providence can get there pretty quick, but it's just so difficult to match the pace, especially when Nate's going back onto the Tracer and blinking square up in your face. It's going to be an easy point A for UD.
Yeah, and it looks like there for a second Providence College had a chance to reset and really get a more definitive hold, but like you said, the spawns coming in from University of Delaware, they swapped to faster heroes. You know, I was kind of questioning if going off the D.Va was the right pick, and in the end it is, and now Nate just going to open this fight up already a 5v6.
There's no main support, but there is the, you know, consolation prize of the fact that you're still running it on. So they have a backup right now. It's a second life, not exactly. It doesn't fully replace the Moira. You're still down a healer. You feel a little bit better. Oh no, Ring King! He walked into the nade! Oh, the pulse bomb, of course, catches one. Nate gets the one that he wishes he got on Oasis. UD cleanup. That cart is just going to keep on rolling.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the EMP stopped Ring King from wraithing. Maybe they thought, hey, like, I got this ability so I can wait a little bit longer. But Nate is just going to push this aggression, going to find two, and it's just looking so good for UD right now. They don't even have to take these fights like 6v6 because they're fighting the early picks constantly. Every fight that they've started since, you know, they've had that point. The first point has been great for them, and now the second point is going to be going to them. 5 minutes left on the clock. They have the mines and the nano to work with, but there are a lot of ults right now on the side of Providence College. They have to make a stand right now. They have to get something going.
I'm looking at that nano boost. The bomb's thrown in. Trans to counter. Great body block from Burnout. Nice little bit of tech there to keep the rest of his team alive. Now they can move forward with ultimates of their own. The mines are going to be particularly strong here for Tub Chub to cut away the supports from the rest of the team. And oh, Lord. Oh, no. The shatter from Pod is big. The Death Blossom's there to try and trade it back from Ring King, but it's not going to be enough to put brakes on this train.
Yeah, they have the Primal. They have the Nano. Again, probably going to go on to Swampy here, but they're going to be running out of time. This is do or die. Rancer has their own Nano, and here's the first one coming out.
It's Swampy on a lot of HP, a big Nano. He's got another Primal to back him up. At the very least, Providence should be able to stagger this fight out pretty long. Milk's getting run down to the back line, but again, the focus isn't there for Providence. Every single time they go for a dive, they leave their backline wide open, and UD, well, they're happy to oblige. Oh.
There's the stick, and that is a very, very quick Numbani. I mean, you talk about you not wanting it to be as one-sided as the last game we saw, but UD, you know, showing up WSU by 9 seconds, so only 1 second less than they started with. A very dominant attack. I think you talked about it perfectly. You know, Swampy did have the nano, had the primal range, so had plenty of stall potential, but in the end, you chase the Sombra all the way away from the point, and you got to know, as the main tank with, you know, that stall ability, you just have to be playing the objective, especially when it's so close to the end, so close to being capped on point 3. And, you know, just Providence College not able to follow up on those deep dives.
Nope. And now they have to, well, I don't even think there's a world where any team can realistically match that attack after having it happen to them. But what they can do, put on a solid one, right? At least go for a second round and then try and beat UD out on the defense on a second go. But even that seems distant, to say the least, when map 1 looked like it did.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a one-sided affair so far. We really need to see some bright spots from Providence College if they want to get back into this map. Like you said, they don't have to do as well, and I mean, if they did, it would be very impressive. They just have to make sure they cap with time left in the bank to give them a second chance at redemption, especially on their defense, because at first point looked all right at the beginning. We're able to stall for a little bit, but then from there, just UD looking so decisive. And now we're going to see Nate on the Hanzo, so showing that Nate has a lot of versatility in their hero pool.
Yeah, and what worries me now is UD are moving on to comfort picks, so they're going to get even more strong. And oh no, it's an early dive from Swampy. It's the same mistake he made last time. Oh no, 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 no! Oh, he got back. Thank God. I was worried there for Providence for a second. They get out with a little bit of dignity still in the fight, but Milk's on the opposing high ground, just waiting for a pincer maneuver. He still has his overload, so killing this Torbjorn is no small feat for them. The Reinhardt's followed him all the way around even. And UD, they just look so cozy on this first point.
I mean, once you break out the Brig, that seems like just, you know, you're going for what makes you happy, maybe not what is meta. Brig just not played at all right now. But again, we talked about, you know, that confidence versus cockiness. We are going to see Chad Massive fall late into the fight, so we're going to have to see a Rieger come out right now from Providence. But if they can kind of just take control of the high ground, which they were trying to do, didn't work out for them last time, but if they can, they have a pretty good chance of taking this first point.
Yeah, oh no, more staggers out of UD. This just gets bloodier and bloodier, Jay. Like, Providence are having a hell of a rough time. There's bright spots here and there. The kill on Diana was good, right? You're getting a tracer kill in the middle of everything, but at this point, I mean, it's like a horror movie. They're just hunting you down every step you take. You think you're hiding in a mega room, and then there's a dragon in your face, and UD are a force of nature right now, just playing with their food. And
we're gonna see the hammer kill.
Oh no, 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 no. I got it!
The hammer kill. To see it. Oh no. I mean, I just want to talk about Nate real quickly. Nate the Great. That's my nickname for him, because Nate has been incredible.
Did you come up with that on your own?
Yeah. I really thought about that hard. Hopefully, no one tries to attack me for that. My copy right now, but they're just so dominant so far. It's just now we're gonna see the Ashe come out, and it's not gonna matter what they do. It really does not seem like it's gonna matter.
All right, if we're gonna rhyme one nickname, I need more from us right now, because right now you just holding on to this one. They look just fine. Oh no, this is gonna be big. Yeah, he's got two with it. Even the Sombra is not enough to save him. All right. What? Rancer the Dancer, Nate the Great, Milk the... What rhymes with Milk?
You know, I'm gonna be honest. I can't think of anything right now, but we can find of it. Silk, maybe? Milk the Silk?
Milky?
Silky Milky, yeah. You know what? We'll go with that. Silky Milky. Getting it down on the Echo now, so... yeah. We'll talk about that later, because right now it's just... looks like a full hold. They have the support ults on the side of University of Delaware. It looks like they're not going to be going anywhere. The rally going to be committed, and that's just the meltdown coming out right now onto the tank line of Providence.
You know, as casters, we talk about the full hold, hexagrams at the Overwatch League. He likes talking about the fuller hold. This is like the fullest hold. This is the natural evolution of that fuller hold.
I might say.
Like, yeah, just the full spawn door. Oh no! Oh my God! He shattered 3 in their own spawn, Jag. Do we ever?
Not like this.
Is there a mercy rule? This has to be PG-13. Is this TOS? I feel bad for Providence because at this point, like, UD are in their heads. Like, Providence looked so much better at the beginning of the match. They were actually like winning a couple fights, and I felt like they had a solid shot. But at this point, it's such a mental game that you just have to feel like UD are gonna take it no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna try to touch it to Tori, but not even gonna make it that far. And we talked about this last match, right? I mean, it comes down to, like, can you keep up that mental game even when you're kind of down? You're down, but you're not out. But right now, that full as a hold might have just put you outside mentally. You know, you're not even in the game. You're just thinking of, let it be over, please. Just, like, let's get through this third map as quick as possible. It's not looking good for Providence, to, you know, put it lightly. Like you said, bright spots just weren't bright enough. Maybe the light's a little bit too blinding for them right now. University of Delaware just putting on a masterclass, and, you know, you hate to see the spawn hold. They did it so perfectly. They were rotating heroes as well. You know, it just kind of looks like a little bit of a clown fiesta at certain points for both teams, but UD just laying down the hammer, you know, both, like, you know, theoretically and literally.
Yeah, I mean, first Torb hammer kill of the season. Is that it? We can celebrate that, right?
Clip it. Someone, anyone, clip it.
Flip it. Somebody go give Milk a medal. I feel like he deserves at least that. You can have some style points. Although it was contested by Pod 36,000 with 2 charges off of the map. That's a pretty solid one. And now looking at the next map, we're heading over to Hanamura. And I feel like it's good for Providence in 2 ways. One, on your attack, you can lean into a Sombra to try and get you an EMP fight win, to try and build something up to break you either out of your spawn or through the choke point, whichever one they end up in at that point in time. And B, if there are no adaptations, if it does look the same, at least it's over quick.
Yeah, I mean, might as well have fun with it, right? Might as well just kind of play what makes you the most happy. I mean, we saw that kind of come out from University of Delaware. Their comp on that defense was very strange. I mean, we saw the Rhine, the Sigma, the Echo, the Hanzo, the Brig. Can we just talk about that? I mean, Brig has not been meta, you know, for a little bit. She was meta for quite a while, but then after her most recent set of nerfs, she's like probably one of the least played supports. So that was just so interesting to see, and still it worked out so well. They just have to have a good defense. You know, it looked like on Numbani first point, they were able to get back, and, you know, they were really going to stay in it, and then it just fell apart. I think Nate, you know, just had a shooting gallery, was able to get back like really quickly on that tracer. They had the ball, so, you know, they were willing to get rid of ultimate charge just to take that fight quickly. So they really knew their win condition on the side of University of Delaware. They really took advantage of that, and, you know, as we said, only 1 second off the clock when they finished, but, you know, you got to look ahead, can't look behind. Right now, Providence College, you know, again, it's match point. If they lose, that is the end of the series. University of Delaware looking to tie it up with a bow right now, but Providence College trying to fight back and get into this.
You know what? There's a chance, but what worries me now is last matchup we saw William Mary versus Wichita State University, and they had an opening where they could lock in a May because Wichita State were running the Ryan Zarya every map. I'm trying to think of an exploitable weakness from UD right now, like you know, just a go win ticket, a hero that you can lock in and it instantly make things easier. And I'm not sure there is one. I do like swapping to May. Gives you a little bit of cheddar to work with in the map, right? A little bit of cheese in the mix, but it's definitely not going to be an easy fight.
Hold on. Are we going to see the attack Bastion Simstrat?
Of course we are.
With Orisa. Man, Orisa
wasn't a doubt in my mind.
Orisa did get buffed, but, you know, she still has not played, you know, double shield meta for so long. You don't see it very much anymore. This is just savage right now from UD. If they come out with this, it's gonna work so well too, is my guess. You know, you have the May wall, but it doesn't matter if you got the sim TP. They're probably gonna try to teleport to that top left, or maybe just get onto that point really quickly with Milk's teleporter. Let's see what they do.
Oh, well, so they're probably gonna teleport top left here and walk their way around, or just go straight to it. Okay, that works as well. Oh no, the Bastion setup. This is it's a bloodbath. Hey, you got the charge off. Up to you for that. Good anti-nade from Chad Massive, and you know, you can tell individually, I feel like these players from Providence look pretty good. Again, though, with almost every collegiate esport, it just tends to be the case that the teamwork is really where the game is decided. because for a lot of these students, it's their first time actually playing on a team. So for Providence, right, they can work on that over the season. I think there is room for improvement for sure.
Yeah, and you know, you got to give it to a school like UND. It just seems like they really know what they're doing right now. Delaware going to take that teleport, are going to probably just set up right on that point with the bash, and probably going to try to make this as quick and clean as possible. Nate just going to fire away right now.
Yeah, poor Dettori is just at the front of all of it. That's good from Swampy. I love this double angle they actually have. The spam here could get enough in. They just need one more hook on an 8, but they don't have the time to get it off. Well, they do get it off, but, you know, too little, too late. 5 minutes 44 on the clock, and now they've got to try and make it all the way through a 2CP map. And like I said, man, either they get it here or it's going to be a quick one. Providence need to make up their minds right now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just like for like confidence and momentum going forward in this league, because, you know, you're not out of this any means by dropping the first series. You still got plenty of time to get back. That's what I was saying about Marion Williams. It's the same thing for Providence College, and really just getting anything going here would be great for them, even if it's just, you know, getting a full cap with no time. I think that would be a great confidence booster for them. You know, UD has been playing with, you know, just the utmost of skill in class so far. Like you said, that team synergy has been there for them. Providence College, you know, like you said, a lot to work on, but they can start a great season here. Got to make sure that they don't get too mentally boomed to start off. Got to make sure that they're going to stay in, give it their best, give it their all. Or, you know, like you said, they could just, you know, try to get it over with as soon as possible and stay in spawn. That's what we saw in Numbani, but didn't seem like they really had much of a choice on that last map.
Now, legs locked, Ash locked. Everything for UD just says full hold. Right? Providence has a few ways they can break this. Sombra, great option for them. Do they utilize it? Doesn't look like they're going to. It feels like full just comfort picks for them, which also another route they could go that's pretty solid.
I mean, Doomfist has that one punch potential, could really help them get in there. And yeah, I just don't think they're comfortable in Sombra. We haven't seen them run it at all. It's something that a lot of teams have been practicing. Maybe they tried it out and it just wasn't really in their wheelhouse, but gotta do what's best for you to try to win at the end of the day. They're going to try to get in there, and it looks like they are going to get a little bit of point percentage, but it might not be enough, as Melk going to get the first pick and Burnout going to follow up very quickly.
And I feel like this is right back to what we were talking about with teamwork. There was a very clear idea from Dettori. I want to move to point. And I'm pretty sure it was the right decision because UD weren't moving anywhere from their perch. But nobody else followed up. Everybody else was just sitting in choke, waiting for something to happen, and you have to make things happen. In Providence, they were trying to be put in the driver's seat by their main tank, but they weren't taking the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to follow your main tank into battle. You got to make sure that, you know, their butt is basically what's in your peripheral view, so you can get in there and, you know, do some damage. But right now, this double shield comp might keep them at bay a little bit, and Dettori, again, going to fall. So that's just two really quick picks.
He ate the volley from Burnout, and, like, not in a good, like, you know, dinner dessert kind of way, in the ouch, that's a lot of orbs kind of way. What a rough way to go.
You know,
oh, no.
A Zen that can hit its shots is one of the most deadly things that you can see in this game. Not a DPS, but again, just look at these picks, and now the Bob being committed. Nate the Great at it once again, and the Flux as well.
All right, boys. Pitch your tents. Get ready. We're going camping.
The only thing I can think of right now is that Burnout is kind of alone on the left by themselves. You know, Zen, a very slow character, but that's a great way to start things off. They finally got a pick.
That's going to relieve a lot of weight off of Dettori's shoulders, as well as their supports, and trying to keep them alive. Even with the Discord Orb there, they're just not the same amount of damage. You can tell Zekrom's feeling themselves, but the rest of their team not able to do so quite as much, moving in immediately, losing two. The Shatter's big, but there's no damage to follow this up. You need these next couple of swings to find kills, otherwise it's just trouble because the Transcendence comes through. Try and charge through, find one more, but Zekrom forced to do everything on his own. Gets one on the way out, but not much more.
We saw the oops, but I don't think that was an accident at all, you know. Yeah, that trance right there from Burnout really saved them from being capped on that first point. It actually looks like for a little bit there would be life coming out of Providence College, but now the minute and 20 left, it's just looking more and more dire for them. They do almost have that sights online, but I don't think Walls is going to be enough to help them win this point.
Now you're running into a lot of ultimates. Milk still has Visor as well. Pod is, well, he's playing Widow Sigma? Widow something or another? And he's on the high ground. He's on the flank. And Providence don't have much room to try and fight their way out. However, they have taken out one of the tanks. They've lost one of their supports. And on the way in, that's not a trade you really want to be making. Swampy's in a very rough position. And UD, I have to commend them. They're playing this position, this composition, really well. Staying as a solid unit of a double shield team. So I have to, you have to give them props where they can have them. It's not Providence playing particularly bad. It's just UD have them outmatched.
Yeah, I mean, even though they have a huge advantage, they're still playing very high quality Overwatch. Sometimes we talk about an opponent maybe playing down to their opponent if they're at a lesser skill level, or, a team rising to the occasion and playing up. Right now, UD just still taking the fight to them. And again, a lot of swaps coming out from both teams. Still doesn't look like they're going to get anything done there. But Pod, so close to falling. It isn't going to happen.
It feels poetically incorrect that he got out with his life there. And that burnout's on the flank of Zenyatta. No time to touch. Providence full held at spawn again. The fullest of holds 2 maps in a row out of University of Delaware. If that's not how you make a statement, I don't know what is. They actually followed up what Wichita just did to William and Mary, and that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to take back what I said. I mean, Wichita State definitely looking pretty good, but right now, Delaware, from what I've seen so far, it looks like
you can't say that every match, Jag.
I'm gonna say it.
Track.
No one can stop me.
This is your one redo. I'll stop you. I 100% will stop you.
All right, Door. I'll hold you to it. But yeah, UD definitely opening up the season with a statement. They are here to play. And even when they're messing around, they really weren't messing around. I mean, kind of got a little funky, near the end of Numbani and on Hanamura with those full holes. But even with everything going on, it was just all over the place. And they still were looking great. The support line, the tanks, the DPS, they all had amazing plays. And that's what you want. You want a well-rounded performance from your team. And that's about as well-rounded as you can get. Everyone having their pop-off moments there for University of Delaware.
Yep, plenty of growing room for Providence. UD, huge props. There's not much more to say about that match. You guys are watching it. A clean 3-0 if I've ever seen one. There's plenty more Overwatch to be played today, though. Niagara versus Ryder is coming up next. There's 2 more following that. As for me, that's all I've got for tonight. If you want to follow me, it's @door_cast. Helps me out massively. Same goes for Jag. His name's right beneath his, his Twitter handle's right beneath his name down there. Follow him as well. If you want to follow EGF, follow the Twitch channel, follow the YouTube channel, or subscribe to the YouTube channel, technically. Or follow us on Twitter @official EGF. Helps everybody out big time. Until then, we'll catch you guys for the next match in just a few minutes.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the official EGF Twitch channel. My name is Proper, and with me is Jag. We are here with the EGFC Season 2 Week 1 matches, and just a little bit of an update for you all. Hope you got some nice snacks. Hope you got some nice tea or whatever beverage is your choice. Hopefully you're staying hydrated out there as well. We're still waiting for the rest of the lobby in between Niagara University versus Rider University, our upcoming match, to lobby on up so we can hop in towards the first map and get you that action. So stick with us, won't you? Because on the other side of this very short break, we'll bring you just that action. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. I told you it was going to be a short break. My name is Proper, joined with Jag here, and we have some more official EGF action for you all. This is the EGFC Season 2 Week 1 matchups, and what this one is going to be is Niagara University versus Rider University. And well, Jag, you've been here all day. It's been some exciting matches, to say the least.
Oh, absolutely. I have been here all day, and I'm excited to be here all night. We've had some great opening matches here in Week 1. We saw Wichita State take the 3-0 to start off their season. And, it was followed up by another 3-0. University of Delaware looking very dominant. So those are two teams definitely to keep your eye out on. But there have been some other games being held at the same time. So let's get you updated on those. Unfortunately, UConn versus RIT is going to have to be rescheduled to tomorrow. So keep posted for information on when exactly that will be. A very exciting match that will be indeed. Marist and Siena, which is supposed to be after this. Siena is currently having some technical issues on their campus. They don't have any power, so we'll keep you updated about whether or not that is happening. And the game that did happen on the other side, or really didn't happen, we saw St. Peter's get a forfeit win, so that's a good way for them to start off their season, even if they didn't get to play. But enough about that. Let's talk about what we're going to see here. Like you said, Niagara versus Rider University. Two teams looking to start off their season with a win.
Yeah, and starting off with a win, it was definitely going to be an everlasting W, to say the least. For those that are unfamiliar with the format, we are in round-robin play for a multitude of weeks, and what we're going to end up seeing how that all plays out come playoffs towards the end of all of these weeks. But here's what we're going to end up seeing here, Jag, is we're going to get a lot of good profiles for a lot of these teams, because that's the thing about collegiate esports as a whole. I don't care if you're talking about Rocket League, Valorant, Call of Duty, or even here in Overwatch. These are scholars first, and then they're competitive gamers second. So when you're able to not only represent your college while also playing at a high enough level, competing for a very fun prize at the end, it definitely sets up for an exciting time throughout your already exciting classes on a week-to-week basis.
I mean, absolutely. There are so many collegiate tournaments going on right now. TESPA has been going on in the preseason. There have been other tournaments going on that some of the teams have participated in. And, you touched on it really well. They're scholars first, so they're always learning. This first week, if it doesn't go well for them, they can always run it back, always go over the VODs, always learn from what they didn't do well and get better at it. So no matter what happens here, none of these teams are going to be out of the running just yet. Plenty of time to get back into this season, into this game. And right now we're going to be starting on Oasis. It is a set map pool, so Nambani and Hanamura are going to be falling up in the 2-3 slot. Maybe some Watchpoint, Gibraltar, and Busan if we go the distance, but that's later. This is now, and we're going to see what these teams are coming out on in a second.
Yeah, and Oasis is going to be starting off right in the center of all things, and well, this stage in particular on Oasis is a very interesting one. It can definitely stall out a lot of different fights unless you can already capitalize on a lot of already found damage. And, well, both teams are already hovering over top of a brawl composition. You love to see it, Jack.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You know, for City Center, you usually expect a dive comp because there's so much high ground you can control, but both these teams just want to take it to each other. They want to run in with that Ryan Zarya and try to smash each other up. We are going to see Lucio's on both sides, but a Mercy on the side of Ryder. Very interesting. Maybe looking to pocket the Soldier.
It's going to be tough to say the least, but if you can get Riggs up on this high ground and uncontested, you'll definitely be in a good spot. You're going to be up here with Cheese, and while Niagara is already going to be down 1 DPS, Riggs is able to come out on top of that. Great capitalization of that for Ryder, and they're doing this wonderfully, just playing off the high ground, just waiting for Niagara to come to them and just funneling them in, and as the point unlocks in 2 seconds, it looks like they want to drop down, and here comes the brawl. Ranger already getting up in the face, and that's funneling right into the sightlines of Riggs, who takes them down. Big old 4v6 right on the point, but certainly Chisa will be here soon, so they can put in some damage. Shield's getting a little bit low here for Ranger, and they're going to have to get a little bit of healing. And like we had noted, this is a Mercy and Lucio composition, so there's no real big burst heals on the point, but it doesn't really matter because Riggs is still finding a lot of good peppering damage, of which they can all capitalize on. Still Sprawl across the point. 4 members on the point comparatively, and now even. Riggs able to charge up the Tactical Visor, and Soggy on this Genji is able to capitalize on all of that peppering that came on through. Not the biggest burst damage in the world from Riggs, but still enough to cap the point first for Ryder.
And it's really interesting because we saw that Ryder got a first pick very early on, but it still took them a really long time to finally cap that point. They had to commit the Soldier ult, and you know, that's usually not something we see come out in a first fight. Now they have other ults they've built up, so they do have some stuff to burn. On the other side, we're going to see Niagara very close to that Cole, so they might use that for the engage. But right now, if you're this on the side of Niagara, you got to know the other team has a lot of ults. You got to just take a dry fight, try to get some out so you can regroup, take another fight later. There's only have 27% on the point right now.
Aristalia does have the coalescence, but it may not matter. Soggy with the blade comes in, is being pocketed by Sorry. They're pinned, however, and is brought right into the traffic side. Can he get out alive? No, Apex cannot. They try to look both ways before they cross the street, which I definitely suggest you doing, but that economic fight did come through. They only got the blade out and the Valkyrie.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a win for you. You don't use the Cole, you almost have the grab, so even though it's not like, you know, a grab-dragon combination, it still can be pretty deadly to have all of those characters in one spot, getting all of that Cole damage onto them. They could hold on for Cheese Dragon, but right now, it's not looking good for them, you know? You said an economic fight, but now that point is just ticking away.
Yeah, great use of their ultimates so far from the defensive side. Tucking around the corner is Apex with the Shatter. They're able to knock free on their back, but Riggs is on the flank. Soldier 76 action in a nutshell, but not base. Is still alive on the point and is just lasering multitude of targets down. Redbeard did swap over to the McCree. They're going to be handed on the flank. Just a little bit of stall tactics coming through using the sprint action from the legs. And being pocketed by Starry. This is being stalled out wonderfully. We're about to eclipse past 90 seconds. Apex is going to go down again. Graviton Surge is now infested here from Stariku. And now they're just trying to finalize this point so that way they can make this the last fight territory. They got the numbers here. Do Ryder, Niagara, swapped Cheese over to the Junkrat, trying to find some displacement damage and try to burst down so they can capitalize on all of this damage, but Beard is down yet again. Very tough circumstances that Riggs just seems to live for all eternity, and the tanks are just cleaving right through them all. Ranger getting closer and closer towards an Earthshatter, but they might not meet it here, Jack, because it's just a lone Apex and Cheese alive on the point. One last little hazard on the Lucio to stall things out. Overtime whip will burn through 100-0 on City Center for Ryder University.
100-0 indeed, but honestly, that score does not show how close some of those fights were. It could have gone either way for a lot of things, and I think Riggs right now, being the difference maker, you know, Soldier is not the version that we have in Experimental, so they still don't have, you know, the changes that are on Experimental, so not nearly as powerful as you might have seen the videos on Twitter showing. I mean, Soldier looks really good right now if they have those changes go through, but just Riggs in the background with the Mercy Pocket doing so much damage, and that's really all Ryder needed to get over that hump. Now, the question is, can they do it as we go into Gardens? It looks like these teams are going to be keeping it pretty similar in terms of supports. The only changing I'm seeing is Redbird gonna go on to that Soldier themselves, and Riggs gonna stick to a Tracer.
Not base is actually swapping over to the Diva as well, just looking for a little bit more sustain with the defense matrix, trying to eat some of that damage, but they got to be careful because Riggs, you noted, is going to be able to get to this backline a little bit faster with the Tracer. A little bit of dive DPS action with a little bit of brawl too, and That's going to open up a lot of pocket-tunities there for Starry, who's still on the Mercy. She's under a lot of pressure, survives with 1 HP. Needs some healing so they can stay alive. It's just one Swift Strike away for Soggy to take them down. That's a great opening elimination for Rider University, and they're trying to capitalize on that first elimination. Briggs will be able to funnel back, is able to find that health pack, so they're back up to full HP. And Niagara just trying to remain in control of the point, but the tanks are split. Apex is going to go down because of this being pestered by the dive DPS between Soggy and Riggs, who are just able to isolate targets from Niagara University and just burst them down. It's just going to be not base left alive on the point, and it's going to be Ryder taking the first capture again.
You know, she's on this Hanzo. It's a very interesting pick. They're doing a lot of shield damage. You know, we saw that Ranger, that shield was really weak, and I thought maybe they would try to take that high ground and just force the fight up there, but she's once again going to be the first to fall, and now going to swap to the Sombra. So no Grav Dragon, not going to have it anyway, because they do have not base on that Diva. And again, just we're seeing Ryder, really good team play, able to control this point.
She's over to the Sombra, is going to be trying to make the tanks hurt, but Ranger drops the hammer, knocks 2 on their back. Starry Q's going to get hacked, so no projected barriers allowed, but Riggs is still able to find Redbeard. Coalescence is in play here for Niagara University. They're trying to overwhelm the tank line between Ranger and Starriku. Starriku finally goes down, but it's a 1-for-2 trade, and you still were able to get the sound barrier and the Valkyrie out, both from Vinyl and Ryan. It was enough to over-sustain Rider University on the point, and they got the res on Star nevertheless.
Soggy does have that blade out, but you know, Hazard being on the Brig, it's a very interesting pick, but if you can sunlock that Genji and then just melt them down, the blade does not matter. They do have tank ults coming up on the side of Niagara, but again, just 60%, and right now they have not been able to make a dent in Ryder's defense.
Going to be looking to at least try to take them off the high ground. Apex is looking pretty darn effective in trying to cleave on forward. Pulse Bomb comes through from Riggs. Now Soggy comes in with the blade, immediately able to take down Hazard, who swaps it over to Brigitte, trying to shut that down. Base throws up the self-destruct, is able to take down Sariku, and finally, Jack, a numbers advantage comes through from Niagara, but Soggy still alive, is trying to find a multitude of targets isolated as possible. They already took down the soldier for Niagara, and Riggs is going to get dealt with. Finally, a team fight victory for Niagara. They're in control of the point.
Yeah, you get Hazard with the blade, but then the way that they dashed out, they almost fell off the map, so Soggy had to readjust, and the rest of that blade just not getting the value they were looking for Ryder. Niagara able to collapse on the rest of the team that was there, able to finally get some point percentage, finally able to get a team win. They're so close to that blade, but Ranger trying to go behind is so close to that shatter. Will we see the bumper shatter come out?
Could be potential. Story 2, the Graviton Surge is fishing for this, but the shatter comes through, and then the Graviton just to lock it all up with a little hint of gravity. A very clean team fight victory. Cheese did charge up the EMP, but you're not going to want to take this fight 2v6.
No, you're definitely not, and now Soldier going to be staggered out. 10% now left, so this is going to become very dire. You need Cheese to touch and then get out, hold on to that EMP for someone else to come. Can they touch to trigger overtime? It looks like they will. Now they need to try to get as much of a full team recoup as possible, but the EMP coming out early.
Finds 4, but where's the follow-up? Apex comes in, immediately finds a pin, and then shatters 4 on their back. There's the cleave. Hazard is there to help things out. The Reinhardt to get the combo. Still very good when it's all isolated targets, and Beard with a little mistap there, the tactical visor, but it's okay. You still won the team fight.
Yeah, you did win the team fight, but now all you have is the rally. It could be enough to counter the blade, but my assumption right now is we're going to see Starry Vinyl use the Valk as kind of like a mini pocket. Not as good as a Nano, but pretty dang close to try to get as much extra damage onto Soggy as possible. So, Redbeard going to fall very low. This could be the opening they're looking for.
Redbeards will get the healing. Soggy is up in their face, finds a deflect headshot on the Redbeard, and the immortality field from Aristelia is not going to be good enough. The blade is coming through, unpocketed by the way. Soggy is just finding a lot of value. Hammer versus sword. Soggy with the Shoryukens are going to be able to take Apex down. The numbers advantage just too much. The damage too overwhelming. Just one more staggering member. It's Cheese on the Sombra is going to be dealt with. Overtime's going to come through. Apex to the Wrecking Ball. He's going to try to get there in time, but no players are going to be able to touch the point to trigger overtime. Further, Rider University wins it out in 2.
Yeah, the amplification matrix being used at the end, but just not enough, you know, from Niagara at the very end. They looked like they had some of the pieces to the puzzle completed, you know, on that Gardens. They looked definitely a lot more together than they did on that first point on City Center, but once they had control of the point, they just didn't really know how to play it afterwards. It looks like they were a little bit split. I mean, having Hazard on the low ground when you've got 2 on the high ground, they needed that rally to be big. And in the end, it just wasn't big enough. Soggy having their way with everyone that was up there, both the Squishy's gone, the Soldier, and the Bap. And from there, it was just a pretty easy time for Ryder. But, you know, it's exciting. Niagara still putting up a bit of a fight. So this might be the first, you know, not 3-0 of the day. That would be great to see, you know, maps go a little bit longer. We could finally see some other maps in our map pool, like Watch Point, Gibraltar, and Busan, if we so get there. But Ryder definitely starting off strong.
Yeah, Ryder definitely starting off strong, and you're mostly looking at a big DPS play coming out. I mean, Soggy on that Genji through both the stages was able to find a lot of value in Genji, and well, Genji is one of those heroes in this current patch of Overwatch, even at the highest levels of play, isn't seeing too much play time just because they're easily countered and and it's very difficult to try to find a lot of targets isolated like what you saw from Ryder University Soggy and being able to do. So it mostly comes down to Niagara to try to react to this accordingly. And you saw Hazard, and we noted about the Brigitte coming through, just trying to play against that counter dive, but it wasn't really all too potent in that way. You also had your Baptiste, Immortality Field. Again, not the biggest use in the world, but when you're playing these Brawl v Brawls here, Jack, what can you really do to make sure that you come out on top of these engagements like Ryder University are, especially in the tank department?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, Ryder's kind of using a more untraditional DPS composition. Soldier has not been meta for a very long time, and Genji was meta for quite a bit, but not really as much anymore. You know, you usually see the Reaper Sombra because basically what you're doing is you're just going to run into the enemy team with that Reaper. You get a hack with the Sombra onto the main tank, so, you know, they don't have the shield, they don't have any mobility abilities, but right now it looks like they just have a really good idea of what they want to do. They get Riggs on the flank no matter what character they're on. Riggs kind of just wreaks havoc. You see that Niagara kind of panics a little bit because, oh no, like, who is killing all of my supports and who is doing all this damage to my tanks behind? They need to get the DPS on the side of Niagara onto Riggs. They need to shut that down, make sure they can't take that space, because right now it's free real estate for them.
So we move over to Nubani, our hybrid map. And well, if you're new to Overwatch, if you're just watching for the first time, a hybrid map, you got to unlock the cart or the payload first, and then you got to push it through 2 choke points or 2 checkpoints, excuse me, to make yourself a 3-point score line. And then the opposite team gets the same effect. So as we move over to Nubani here, Jack, my question to you, especially against what we saw from Soggy and Riggs swapping in between the Tracer and the Soldier 76, Soggy staying on the Genji. You brought up how strong the Reaper and the Sombra combo is. Do you think that it would work out on a map like Nubani, especially against how Ryder University are playing?
Well, you know, honestly, I would say stick to what's working. There's no reason to really switch things up. Soggy seems to love that Genji, and Genji's not a terrible pick here. You can take control of that high ground, so you can get up into places that maybe the enemy team is not expecting. You know, Soldier doesn't have as much climbing ability, has no climbing ability, but you can still run around, get into higher places. So if they can set up on the high ground, I think they have a really good chance of still being able to control. I mean, I don't think either team has really been running meta. We did see Cheese on that Sombra briefly, but in the end, it wasn't enough to help them conquer on Oasis. So I'd expect teams to be staying to their comfort picks instead of trying to force meta.
It's a very good point, too. And again, just like we were talking about at the top of this match specifically, these are, you know, collegiate athletes. They're scholars first, so it's not like they're playing and they're practicing at the highest level. So, you know, comfort pick, I'm glad you brought up that phrase because it definitely comes to mind. As Ryder rolling out of the offense, got a D.Va and a Zarya.
That is very interesting. I mean, my guess is you're going to just put pressure on the opposing team with the D.Va, then bubble them. But D.Va against Genji, against Hanzo. Hanzo kind of shreds that mech down, but it's not going to matter. Cheese is going to be the first to fall. Again, Riggs all the way on the flank.
Yeah, Cheese will get rezzed here. Mercy and Ana composition here for Niagara on defense with their Ryan Zarya composition, looking to brawl. Ranger low, but is able to escape to the high ground. Now will be able to join on the low ground. Is able to follow up on a lot of damage that Riggs was able to lock on down. Shades of City Center on Oasis yet again as Ryder University are able to take this first fight convincing.
No main tank required. They'll get it done with a double off tank strat. And you don't usually see a D.Va Zarya. If anything, it's usually either a Sigma Hog or Sigma Ball. If you really want to consider Hammond an off tank, Riggs he's just doing it all right now. Still getting these really important stall picks, and now we're going to see a very aggressive push by Ryder.
And the thing about Riggs on this flank constantly, you might think that it's a little bit of disrespect, but it's a big tactic, right? Especially when you're looking at it from Ryder's standpoint. Look at how many resources, look how many players from Niagara, although waiting for players to come through from the farthest spawn on Numbani, have to pull back just to get Riggs out of this position.
Riggs is playing Soldier right now like a wrecking ball. I mean, he's all over the map. They're all over the map just looking for these picks, and they're just causing all of these distractions. It's working out really well for them, as you're seeing that Niagara, you know, they kind of have to rotate to avoid this Soldier. That's what ball does, just getting your backline, cause havoc, but Riggs also following up with the kills, but that's going to be cheese.
Yeah,
Junkrat right in your face.
That's not something that you ever want to see. I don't care what DPS you're playing, what squishy character you're on. Junkrat in your face is not the greatest thing in the world, too. So it looks like that Rider University is going to go ahead and take a little bit of a swift disengage, just kind of take a little bit of a poke. No ultimates were used in that last fight too, but as far as the ultimate department is concerned, are looking good for Ryder. Soggy was able to take down Chi, so this is going to be the engagement now from Ryder. Soggy with the blade, pocketed, and the bomb's going to be able to displace multiple targets from Niagara University. He's able to find one with both of these ultimates, but the follow-up and cleanup is all there for Ryder University, who are commanding the entire push to Numbani. They got 5 minutes plus in the bank.
So far, we've just seen teams like one-upping each other on their Numbani finish time. Wichita State 350 in the time big when they finished. We saw the next team that played, University of Delaware, finished at 359. Now will we see Ryder have more time than either of those two teams? Right now, they are looking good. They have a very healthy team.
Oh, man.
I can't even finish my thought because right now Riggs is just shredding them. That alt bank they have is still pretty healthy, but now we've seen that Niagara has built a few things up, but they need to use it quick because right now they're not even contesting cart. This is just a free push.
It is the freest of pushes that I've ever seen, and the off-tanks are just absolutely flourishing in this. Riggs has a tactical visor. They're on the flank. They're able to pepper down Thread with it, too. The shatter from Apex comes through. It actually knocks down 5 members. The only player obviously knocked down will be Riggs, and Apex is just going to cleave through with the Rocket Hammer, is able to find 2. The Nano Boost is giving them a little bit more sustainability as well. But this is finally going to look like a team fight victory for Niagara, as Apex just pins on in for a staggering Mercy elimination. Not Base is still cleaning up. Well, it looks like to be Ranger on the point, but they're still surviving here, just pulling out a lot of resources. But this staggered elimination is still getting ultimates out from Niagara on the defense, and while Riggs is still here, charging up another tactical visor, it looks like that Ryder University wants to try to reinitiate this, possibly. But I think at this point, you just got to get the heck out of Dodge, and well, Riggs agrees.
I mean, look at how much was used there on the side of Niagara. They used 1, 2, 3 alts. That's a lot for a fight that they should have been winning pretty decisively. Now we're going to see that it's going to be a bit of a full reset for both teams. Now it's going to go back to the 66. And I think the Reaper from Redbeard might be the difference, but she is going to be the first to fall once again.
Graviton Surge comes through from Stariku. They're oversaturated with barriers and health from the Valkyrie and the Sound Barrier. Apex with another shatter. Only takes down Soggy. They're about to have a blade. There's a tactical visor online. Just staggered members left alive and can't even make it out of their spawn. The overwhelming pressure that Ryder University was locking down 3 minutes and 40 seconds in their bank after capping all 3 points of Numbani.
Yep, so not going to set a new record in our tournament just yet, but still 3 minutes and 40 seconds. A very, very good time bank. And I think it just comes down to alt management at the end, you know. Well, that and really knowing the objective. It seems like Niagara gave up so much free space to Ryder, and there's nothing wrong with respecting your opponents, you know, but you should not be scared of them. You got to play every fight out. You should not be giving them that much room to work with. They didn't contest the point until it was basically at the end of that second point. You know, even though they got that pick onto Riggs, they just waited for the regroup. Saki used that blade, and from there, pretty quick team wipe from them. So I think right now Niagara kind of puts the pedal to the metal, is able to really get involved and engaged with these fights. They might have a chance, but right now they're playing so passive, and it's not really giving them much of a chance to win any of these fights.
So what would you end up switching? Would you just have Riggs constantly on your flank like that? In a Soldier just peppering you in the composition that we just saw from Niagara University, what if you have taken instead just to deal with that?
I think you just ignore Riggs, honestly. You just don't let them control the pace of the fight. You run in to the enemy front line, you take down their main tank, and you play super aggro. It's kind of like a pharmacy, you know. Sometimes you don't have to counter, you just have to kill everyone else and the pharmacy flies away. But, you know, without a Lucio, which they haven't had for a while, they do have a Lucio now, so they might have the opportunity, but they've been playing the Brig a lot, which just has not been working out in their favor. So let's see if Hazard can use the speed wisely and help Apex get in there.
Double off tank for the defense. Again, this time it's a D.Va and a Roadhog with the same DPS and support composition that we have seen from them since Oasis. And well, for the offensive Niagara, they go to the McCree in the Reaper composition. They also have their own Roadhog, just looking for some displacement. Moira for a little bit more of overhealing. They're trying to take the high ground away, and Hazard's going to find the final blow onto Sariku. That's the Roadhog down. So now you can just overwhelm the point here and just try to saturate. A great hook coming through from Not Base. They're going to be able to get the combo to take down Soggy. Riggs does find one on the back end. That's Breadbeard down. And well, with Riggs up here on the high ground, just uncontested, and there's no immediate way of dealing with this, you can see right through. You have Not Base just trying to push their way here. The hook just a little bit to the left. Not going to be able to lock that down, but it's just Base versus Riggs, and Riggs is going to get the better of them as they are being damage boosted by Star Vinyl, and they were able to charge up the Tactical Visor. They're going to find a lot of damage. 2 ticks, 89.5% was charged up on to get the cart unlocked, but just when it was all said and done, Rider University re-engage and take it back.
You really need Cheese to get up there and into the face of Riggs right now. They have the teleport, they have the Wraith form, so, you know, they have some momentum abilities. They have what I'd call almost a second life when you can Wraith and then, you know, get back into a fight. Now we're going to see Not Base swap off of the Hog onto the Zarya, and I really think they need a Diva or something else to try to contest that Soldier, because even when they were able to kind of ignore them, the fact that they were able to, that Riggs was able to stay alive and just have that damage boost and get that Visor, it's just too much right now for Niagara. They should have really gotten a full cap there, but just not meant to be yet.
Sariku comes back on the Winston. Ranger just 9% shy away from their self-destruct, and Niagara are just trying to take the high road here. They use the Coalescence just to put themselves in a spot to where they can possibly get there, but a little bit over the edge there does go Sariku after Ranger does use the Jets to knock off Aristali. And while all the cleanup is still here from Rider University, just an opening pick onto the burst healer of your Moira. Rider University with a team fight gong in play. They only have 1:50 seconds to defend left.
They have good ults to work with. They've got the Blade, they've got the Bomb Rig so close to another Visor. The Beat not too far behind, and right now, Apex, Beardred, Hazard, they have stuff to work with, but it's going to be really hard to get in there with a Shatter. Look at how split we're seeing Ryder play. They need to force that point. They need to force people onto that point so they can get the most out of it. But Riggs again!
Tactical Visor comes through. The Helix Rockets is going to find the first elimination. The sound barrier a little bit late from Hazard. But there's nothing really you can do here. You're just going to funnel yourself inside of the Mega Pack room where you're just getting cleaved by Sariku in that Tesla cannon from Winston. And a lot of cleanup's going to come through. Stoggy held onto this Blade. And, well, this is another team fight victory. Ryder looking quite dominant here on Nubani.
Yeah. And luckily, right now, we are not seeing the spawn camp we saw last match, but still a very similar situation. Only a minute left. They still have Apex's Shatter and Breadbeard's High Noon, and it looks like they might be trying to get the flank. Maybe get a little bit of distraction main and then get them off center, but there are going to be the tanks playing on that high ground, so it's going to be very hard right now for the McCree to set up.
Aristali swapped over to the Baptiste, a little bit more healing. Apex is already under so much pressure. Immortality Field comes out. Here comes the Earth Shatter. Finds absolutely nothing. The Sound Barrier just to give a little bit more HP in the Adaptive Shield department for Soggy, and the cleanup is all there. Blink and you miss that team fight. 30 seconds left on the clock for Niagara to take point A of Nubani.
Yeah, blink and you miss it, that's right. They did kill enough time now to make this last fight territory. All they have right now is the Mercy Valk, so Starry Vinyl gonna have to have a good ult for sure. Redbeard does have the High Noon, but that's really all they have as well. If Not Base couldn't get this grab and it isn't Eden, that might give them more life on Numbani.
Apex goes over to the Diva and does the wisest thing, just tries to solo dive Riggs on the Soldier 76, but they're being over-pocketed by Starry Vinyl, and the Valkyrie comes out. There's already so many eliminations. Not Base has to have the grab of their career, and they do find a big one, but the bubble comes through from Sariku on the Winston. It's just Not Base left alive. Overtime Wick is just burning on through, and just like that, Riot University, they go for a full hold on Nubani after taking Oasis 2-0, and now they're up in the series 2-0.
Yeah, the script writers are definitely having their way today. All three matches so far kind of seem to be going in a similar fashion. And, you know, Niagara, again, they looked like they kind of figured out on Oasis, but here they just looked a bit lost, not able to finish up the fight. They did get 2 ticks, were so close to capping that first fight, but in the end, Riggs, the difference maker, could not be ignored because they had that visor online and they ran through the enemy team with it.
52% kill participation for Starry Vinyl there. Again, when the fight and the brawl just was all happening on the point, Starry Vinyl had a very clear cut out because Riggs was just almost uncontested on the high ground all the way until that very last few seconds where you saw the Diva from Niagara University try to go for a dive, but it was a solo dive. You didn't have a Winston to help you out, and you couldn't burst through the healing, although it's not the biggest healing in the world, between the healing that comes through from Soldier 76 themselves and the Mercy. It's just not enough for a D.Va to try to burst on through unless you land every single bit of your rockets, plus the burst from your primary fire, and a little bit of more from the from your dash as well. So this is very troublesome looking at Niagara going into Hanamura next. And I'm not going to lie, for Rider University, they're not really swapping anything up apart from some tanks. It looks like they're having quite fun with it.
Yeah, and I mean, look at their healing composition too. It is very low healing. Mercy, you know, got nerfed quite a bit a while back, so not doing nearly as much as she used to, and still they're doing so well. It's interesting, you know, I've been seeing a lot of Mercy Zen, not a lot of Mercy Lucia, but they're making it work even with a low healing comp. You know, that Mercy just gonna pocket Riggs. Riggs is gonna do so much damage. Soggy also getting a bit of a pocket with the Valkyrie when they use the blade. It's working for them. It just seems like Niagara isn't able to capitalize on the fact that there isn't a lot of healing going on for Ryder. Ryder just taking the fight to Niagara, and they're winning.
So now you're going to have to see for Niagara University, do you try to meet that dive for dive? Do you try to go for a dive yourself and try to find one of these isolated members, or even trying to go for a full 4-player dive onto the 76 or not? Because I mean, you saw it, the struggle on Nubani, Apex. With that Reinhardt, their shield was just basically gone before they even got to the point. They never even got a real chance to brawl. The one shadow that they dropped was immediately nullified. But coming into Hanamura, it's not looking like the Niagara want to swap anything up. And do you think that this could be a problem for them? Or do you think that for Hanamura that the brawl could be a little bit more better in their favor?
They don't have the Lucio. They have the Mercy, so they will have a res online if they're able to keep the fight going on long enough. I think it really comes down to the Ana play, honestly. If you can get a big ante, you know, you can get bubbles out early, that can really work in your favor. They don't have a Mei, so there's no wall to cut off the main tank on that choke point, which, you know, you see a lot of teams do. Now we're going to see Riggs go on to the Widow, so no Soldier 1v1 here, but Riggs going to still be putting in that damage with his skin character. Soggy just running this Genji down, so, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it on the side of Ryder, but just such a bait. The Soldier is going to come out in the end. I think it really comes down to Cheese. Can Cheese get on the tanks? Can he melt them down? Can you get the Reaper to do work? But right now, Cheese just playing a little bit passive, waiting for them to walk through the choke.
I like that from Apex. Just try to go for the cheeky pin right outside of the little hut. Redbeard is going to be able to burst down Star Riku. And, well, patience is a virtue here, as Cheese was able to help out with just that. The opening damage is strong. And that opening pick onto the main tank just means that Rider University, they got to take a little reprieve.
Yeah, gonna take a short breath of reset on this point, but Riggs is all the way behind them, I think, on point. This might give them enough time to actually get onto the point, because they're going to be distracted by looking at Riggs.
How did they get back here so fast? I mean, I know that Legs is a very fast and mobile character, but I mean, Riggs, again, just always working their way in here, and it pulls Niagara back, and Ranger with the Zarya just beams him on down, being pocketed by Starry Final. All the eliminations just barrel on through, and Ryder, just like that, after losing the first initial fight, losing their main tank, they come back strong after Riggs just somehow works their way into the backline.
I'm just glad it wasn't Cheese who died first, because I felt bad about kind of calling that out, but they have died first in a lot of those fights. But there, it's just, again, it's like the Hammond effect. They're just doing so well at, like, trying to focus down Riggs, and it's not working in their favor. They're not able to find the kill. They get distracted, they get turned around, and now Riggs finding the first pick once again onto Breadbeard.
Here comes a Valkyrie, but it's met by Soggy on the other side with the blade. Apex, Hammer versus Sword. Hammer will win, but Riggs has a tactical visor, is finding so much damage. She's swapped over to a Desperation Torbjorn. Does find a trade, but is it going to be enough? Most would definitely say no, as Rider University, they find themselves on the point, even only losing one. The Valkyrie, a good ultimate to keep them sustained. Now here comes some staggering, and it's Apex on the D.Va. Grab for grab, mirror for mirror, comes through, but Riggs is uncontested on this high ground, and how many metas have we seen in uncontested hit scan up here just find so much value and worth? The beat's also going to be invested here from Ryan. They really want to capitalize it here, and they're going to be able to do just that. It's just a Moira and a Soldier 76 left alive. Now the Torbjorn from Cheese, just trying to stay alive with the overload. It's not going to be able to do it in Apex and Base, swapping to faster tanks. Can't get to the point in time. Rider University with a very strong time bank here on Hanamura.
Yeah, I mean, you have the best chance at capping that second point after your first fight. The snowball effect on Assault is real, and you saw it there. I mean, Ray's got there so quickly. Yeah, I think I've never seen a Soldier player use that ability, the running ability, at such an advantage. Like you said, it's not the fastest ability in the game, but it just seems like Riggs is all over the map. You know, you're checking your corners, boom, they're there. You're terrified, you scream, you're dead. So Riggs just really controlling it, and that's not to take away from Soggy at all. I mean, as we said earlier, Genji not really in the meta, but definitely making it work nonetheless. Rider University just looking so clean so far on their low heal, high damage comp, and it's working dividends for them.
Almost has a little bit of shades to the OG Pharah Tracer, except it's Riggs on the Soldier 76 that's finding a lot of good opening damage, and it's one Swift Strike away for Sagi to be able to capitalize on that. While you're being damage boosted by Starry Vinyl, either on Riggs or Sagi, the damage becomes all the more potent. And it's very scary when you're looking at it from a support or a DPS standpoint, especially for Niagara University. They're always on the short end of that stick. And again, Riggs, like he had called out, it's the Wrecking Ball concept. They always work their way into the backline, and they're going to play Soldier again on defense. What a very fun 76 to watch.
And look at where their Reinhardt is setting up. Going to be looking for that charge out of the health pack room. I think Starry Vinyl deserves a ton of credit because Mercy, not seen as a very high skill character, but there is a really high ceiling to how to play her. But they're going to be looking for a teleporter. We're going to see the Ryan from Ryder. Yeah, they didn't see him, and they're just going to teleport right past him.
And this is going to be really hard because now Starry Q has to pin all the way to the point. Apex with the Tesla cannon is just finding a lot of good cleave damage, but they're under pressure themselves. Not all of the burst healing in the world as they have their own Mercy and Lucio, but it's Cheese charging up that beam on the Symmetra that is able to find a lot of damage, but Riggs has a good off angle to try to shut this down, and a little bit of an offset dive comes through from Apex. Not the healing that they wanted as they went for that dive, and Riggs is just absolutely unloading on this point. Not even a tick of progress gain there for Niagara University, even when they started that fight 5v6.
I think it really comes down to target focus. I mean, you saw that they had a really good engage with that teleport. The Cheese strategy being used by Cheese almost paid off, but then what happens once the enemy team re-engages? They just don't know who to focus down. Everyone's shooting a different target. No one ends up dying. Meanwhile, Ryder able to have a very good target focus, able to know who to focus on, and in the end, able to win that fight. Now the teleport gonna come up, but she is gonna be falling first again.
She gets absolutely obliterated in Sagi with the damage-boosted Dragon Blade, comes through and finds 3 more. The fight ended before it even truly started, and now Not Base is going to be staggered for all eternity on that Pilot Diva form. They're just trying to go to the edge so they can get a reset with their team.
Yeah, gonna get that reset. The good news for Niagara is you did force out both DPS ults, so now they don't have either the Blade or the Visor to use. Their tank ults are pretty close, but you have some ults of your own. Just as I say that, they swap off of the Mercy onto the Moira. So now no Valkyrie in the sky for Niagara. Now 2 minutes left. It's getting a little bit dire for them.
Yeah, you might have to take, well, it might not even be an economic push because you're just going to give Ranger and Star Riku their ultimates, which they might think are already online, but it's just the DPS that are locking in so much damage. They're going to go the high road, and the Beat's going to over-sustain themselves. Maybe a little bit too early from Hazard, but here comes the Great Wall from Cheese. Graviton Surge from Ranger is going to answer in tow, but it's based in Redbeard that comes in with the damage for the 2 eliminations. 2-for-1 trade on the point as we go for the all-out sprawl, and it's still eliminations that are coming through from Ryder. Even in a number disadvantage, they're still coming out on top. The turrets from Cheese is able to take down Ryan, so no speed available, and a little bit of a displacement with the Primal Rage from Apex. It's gonna finally take down Starry Vinyl, so the healing is all gone, and now it's just a Monkey versus a Cybernetic Ninja, and while typically you know who comes out on top of that, it's Apex, it's Base that takes him down last second. It's just Star Riku that is just stalling out on this point. Ranger comes back on the Diva just to try to stall a little while longer, but they're just going to give this one up, potentially. But they might have the numbers for the re-engage. It's only second tick that's about to be coming through. For Niagara, Ryder's coming in. They got the Tactical Visor. They might end up finding a pick, but they're now going to take the backside. They put themselves in a very scary situation as there's a Diva in Not Base absolutely chasing them. Redbeard does find one in Apex with another. The point is finally going to be captured by Niagara. They got boosted up to 4 minutes to capture point B.
Yeah, and Ranger gonna fall a little bit late, but with the spawn changes, I think they should be up pretty soon. I think that was a bit of a misplay by Niagara. They really needed to stagger that Baby Diva out as long as possible. Now, the ults are kind of even. Both have some stuff to work with, but so far we've seen Ryder just so much more quick to the draw.
Self-destruct comes in for Not Base, and while it's not going to really find anything, it actually opened up their backline more than it did anything else, as 2 eliminations already came through from Ryder, and then Riggs with the Tactical Visor is now going to unleash all of that hurt with the Pulse Rifle on the Apex. They go back to the spot. I thought they were going to go for a change, and they do actually. They go over to an Ashe. Damage boosted Ashe with that Mercy, 1-shot headshot kill.
Yeah, the Dynamite has been nerfed, but she still does so much damage with the primary fire, so Ashe still a very valuable pick here. And I would say that Bob is a better ult than Visor, even though Riggs has made that Visor look very good so far in this series. Both teams still have some ults to work with, both support ults, a Rhine ult, struggled so much to say that, but here's the coal being used first on the other side.
Aristotle had no choice but to use his Coalescence. I mean, the entire team of Niagara were just so low. Tries to go full Goku and just Kamehameha waving the Genji. Well, Sagi just bursts him down. Redbeard with a tactical visor does find Starry Final, so it's a 1-for-1 trade. The self-destruct comes through from Ranger just for another mech, but eliminations are still being found. Apex with the Primal Rage. Cheese drops the barrier as well, splits the point almost in two, but Star Riku's on the better side of it with the Shatter. Knocks 2 on their back, the pin through on the Cheese, and then the Fire Strike on the Apex. 2 minutes and 15 seconds left, as it's just a few more stagger eliminations for Rider University to take command of point B.
Yeah, the Reinhardt Shatter, not only a tongue twister for me there, but kind of the nail in the coffin for that push. That wall was just, it did split the point, but they didn't really know how to play with it because they were just completely on one side. You really want to straddle that line, not be on either side there. Now we're going to see that Riggs deep once again with that Tracer. Knows the teleporter there. It might be looking for a pickoff before they go through.
Ranger will find Redbeard to open things up. Apex comes through with the leap, and Gooba stomps Ranger so hard they fell off the map. They didn't have the jet boosters to help them out, and these are good eliminations for Niagara. Now they're able to chase down a few of them, but Sagi comes through with the blade, does find Cheese. Big burst damage combo comes out, but sorry, Vinyl does get traded. So now Sagi has to go absolutely mental to be able to find a lot of eliminations, but Apex is displacing all the follow-up from that blade as possible. And Riggs now with the Pulse Bomb is going to be looking for the backline. You're mostly just hoping that you can find any sort of opening. Ranger with a long-range self-destruct does displace enough members for Niagara University, so that way the follow-up does come through. Riggs and Ranger go absolutely massive for Rider University to basically nullify any hopes of getting a tick so far.
Yeah, and Riggs gonna be forced out a little bit. Has to use the ability to get back, not take any more damage. But that looks so winnable for Niagara. They started off that fight so well, but I think there was an early pick, so it was kind of a 5v4, and they just didn't rotate to the point quick enough. The focus fire wasn't there, and now getting into last fight territory, they don't have anything really to use except that Diva Bomb from Not Base.
Barrier's going to be there to potentially split them in half, but we saw how much Ryder care about that. And well, the answer is not at all. Riggs comes through with the Pulse Bomb, does take down just the Immortality field, but Base comes in with the Self-Destruct, finds 2. That's the main tank and your Flex support down, but you still have the burst heals here. So it's going to be good because Vital was able to get a resurrection onto Rico, but they pay the ultimate price with their life. Cheese is now going big. They got a level 3 beam, and they're absolutely burning through a multitude of targets in Redbeard here with the Helix rocket. Walks too close to Aristili, and they get immediately slashed through both of them. Sagi with a tri-elimination with the Blade. Hazard and Apex are trying to go big for their team. It's now Not Base with the DMX to come out. The beat just a little bit too late from Hazard. Overtime is now ensuing, and you're hoping that you can get here just as fast as you left Niagara. Just staggering members for Niagara University. The self-destruct is going to come through from Ranger just to seal the entire deal as Rider University. They win here on Hanamura, and they take the series 3-0.
Yeah, and that was very, very close. Niagara, it looks like they were going to get a full cap multiple times on that second fight, but at the end of the day, the DPS from Ryder just come back in and they completely decimate Niagara's chances. But we saw that blade come out at the end. Well, I think there was like a swipe that got 2 with 1 dash.
Yep.
I mean, that's just great focus fire, and that's something I've been talking about all day. It looks like Ryder really knew who to focus down in fights. Well, Niagara just, they'd get that first pick, and then after that, they kind of lost their focus, kind of just looking around, not able to focus down the same targets. And in the end, Ryder taking that 3-0. Pretty dominant performance from Ryder, and I promised Dora I wouldn't say it, so not the team to be looking out for maybe going forward, but definitely a team to be looking out for as we go forward in this season.
Yeah, so you got to see what a team in Rider University looks like when they put all of their eggs inside the DPS basket, specifically for Starry Vinyl, just always putting a damage boost, the Blue Beam of Death on the Riggs or Sagi, Soldier 76, Ash, Tracer, and Genji. Through ultimates and not, Starry Vinyl was definitely the standout player for me, and just being able to be so elusive through the entire point in all of these different fights that were ensuing. Niagara University just couldn't lock down, and what you brought up, focus fire, is definitely a great phrase to keep in mind, but that's going to go ahead and do it for this third series of the day. And just as a confirmation for you all, because of the power outage that Siena College we're facing, we won't have a game 4. That will be rescheduled at a later date, so make sure that you do follow EGF. Their Twitter is at official EGF, so that way you know when that match does come through, and the updates soon to follow. If you're unfamiliar what EGF is, well, it's a governing body for D1 collegiate, high school, and youth esports alike. So you can find out more at EGF.gg. We're going to give you a little bit of a break, and we're going to give you a little bit of an update soon to follow, because the next game isn't scheduled until 10:30 p.m. Eastern, but we'll go ahead and let you know what that looks like throughout all of this time. So go grab some snacks, grab a little bit of water, stay hydrated out there, and we'll be right back. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the official EGF Twitch channel here with EGFC Season 2 Week 1 play. My name is Proper, and joined with me is Jag. Just a little bit of an update for you all. We're going to go ahead and take a little bit of an extended break, like I had already said, at the end of Niagara University versus Rider University. If you missed that, Rider did end up winning in a 3-0 fashion over their adversaries of Niagara University. Due to Siena College having a unfortunate power outage, their match versus Marist College is going to be rescheduled. Make sure you're on the lookout for that on our Twitter. There you can find at official EGF. Again, that's at official EGF on Twitter. We're going to be throwing a raid over towards our second stream where they're currently playing through St. John University versus St. John's University, University of Colorado. And they're going to be moving over towards DePaul University versus UT Arlington for their next match. We're going to take this little bit of an extended break here on the official channel before we set up for our fifth and final match, which is slated to start at 10:30 p.m., which is Fairfield University versus Quinnipiac University. So stick with us as we raid you on over towards our second channel, and we'll see you back here for our final match of the evening.